Hello, everyone, and welcome to GPVWC. This is round 13 of the 2025 Super League Championship, and we are at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Mexican Grand Prix. It's actually the first time that the Mexican Grand Prix has been held in a couple of years now. 2022 was the last, won by Pascal Pollens racing for HRT, and it's been on and off the calendar ever since the first time it was held here back in 2009. Only the seventh version of this particular race. It's not necessarily one that can be guaranteed on the schedule, and that makes it important to savor it while it lasts if it's not going to be around in the future. You'll notice the track map on the right with a ridiculously long start-finish straight all the way down the back end of the circuit. It's the longest run to turn one of any championship race, and that of course means that that qualifying here isn't necessarily going to be the most important today, but it does mean of course that the start is going to be absolutely frantic. Joining me for this broadcast is going to be our regular co-commentator Ed Hunter. Ed, how are you doing, and how are you looking forward to this?
Pretty good. Obviously, there's been some interesting news behind the scenes in the championship regarding some of our title contenders, so it'll be fascinating to see that. But yeah, Hermanos Rodriguez, a really interesting track back on the calendar for the first time in a couple of years. I know Pascal Pollens will be, after a really tough season, will be delighted to see it back on the calendar. Edge could really do with a few more points to their name, couldn't they? Him and Mark Schluter, although Mark Schluter was just denied the win by Jarl Tuin, wasn't he, last time out at Monza after really nailing the one-stop strategy. And we're looking at Grankvist qualifying the background, taking the widest entry into turn one that he possibly can. But yeah, it really has changed around a lot with a couple of outstanding protests being resolved from previous races. It does sort of, I was joking beforehand after Monza, it does sort of feel like Toby Davies has suddenly woken up and realized, hey, Jarl Tuin could win this championship in the drivers now, and it seems like things are all of a sudden very much going his way, and Loic Moynier with a much more reduced lead at the head of the table.
Indeed. Now we'll get onto that drama in just a little bit, because I want to wait for more people to be in the YouTube broadcast to explain this too. It's going to be a confusing one. It's going to be a confusing time in the championship, and that's why I'm waiting to spread the news to some more people. But first and foremost, a couple of updates on the drivers who are racing with us here today. Wopke Hoekstra has returned after 3 races off in the Green Stripes car. We also have Sandeep Singh racing today in the Epic racing car. So he replaces, I believe it was Jesse Lahtinen, who did the last race in that car, and Oscar Soltero has done a few races there as well. But Sandeep, one of the more experienced drivers in the championship, has raced with us many a time before, although is this year mostly focusing on Formula Sprint 2, where he is easily soaring to that championship. If he hasn't, I don't think he's wrapped it up yet, do you know that? But anyway, he's already miles and miles ahead of anyone else in that particular championship. And the only other driver who I don't believe was here last time out was Lucas Murno. He will be racing for Stax today. Lucas has driven in 2 Super League races so far this year, and he's kept up his routine of starting for a different team every single time. Lucas, a little bit of a reserve driver. Of course, he did the Canadian Grand Prix for Green Stripes Racing. He did the British Grand Prix for Fraser Tartan Racing, and he's here today at the Mexican Grand Prix racing for Stax. So a couple of different changes around, but aside from that, pretty much the regular 30 drivers who we would expect. And what we're currently watching is the qualifying session. Now, Ed, I alluded to this, but I'm not actually sure that qualifying today is going to be that telling in terms of how the race is going to play out. It's going to tell us obviously who's got the pace, but there's a couple of reasons I say that, and that is, first of all, Sergio Fletcher has a big twitch. First of all, there's a massive run down to turn 1, so even if you qualify pole, there's no guarantee that you're going to get to turn 1, even in the top 3, let alone at the front. And secondly, of course, we've seen recently that some of the teams have employed a little bit of a sneaky strategy to qualify just outside of the top 15, have that free tyre choice, and then come through the field as we go on. I'm looking at Jarl Tyren winning from 27th on the grid last time out. So, what do you make of that?
Yeah, well, he obviously had the 10th place group penalty from infringement in qualifying at Hungary the race before. So he actually technically qualified 17th, right behind his teammate Tom Stevens. And Toby Davis, team boss there, admitted basically that both drivers lifted off on the run to the line to ensure they qualified outside the top 15 so they could start on the hardest compound of tyres and ensure that they could maximize the one stop there. So it's not always going to be the most advantageous to do that for 2 reasons. Firstly, if you qualify low down, as Tom Stevens has very much discovered, not just in Monza, but in a couple of other races this season, it increases the likelihood of getting caught in an incident that can just take you out in a blink of an eye, where you're trying to overtake someone to make sure that the leaders don't break out of the sort of pit window of you. And the other thing is as well, is that sometimes the one stop is not always the way to go, pitting late onto the mediums or the softs from the hards. So sometimes you might want to start on the softs if they're a little bit more durable. You can extend them in that first stint and do something a little bit more interesting on the strategy. But yeah, certainly on the evidence of what we've seen the first couple of minutes of qualifying, as we see Simon Frelick nip Jan Grankvist's provisional pole time there by 19 thousandths of a second. So great job from the TOP man, who is trying to stop THR from sealing the teams championship, which they can technically do. They are 62 points ahead with a good, they could get a maximum of I think 45 out of this particular race, and then there's only 3 more remaining after it as well. So mathematically, I think it would be a little bit close. I had to figure out afterwards if I sort of do 45 times 4 what the score they need is. As we see Alex Laho now beat Frelick's previous time by 3 thousandths of a second, 1 minute 10.687 there. So Laho, who had a pretty miserable time of things last couple of races, crashing out in both Hungary and Monza, but he still is classified on the podium incredibly for Spa, despite finishing 5th on the road. So yeah, that's one of the high points of Laho's season, along with his podium at Australia right at the start as well. As we look at our FS2 Championship leader Sandeep Singh. Now, just a reminder, Sandeep is, I believe, 76 points ahead with 135 left on offer, so he is not mathematically sealed the FS2 Championship. Although, really, if you look at the season before, he is a guy who's won a load of races in Superlight. So Sandeep is, at the very least, sort of he's got the experience underneath him to be qualified for Super League. I think it would be fair to say. Certainly a little bit more than Jesse Lattinen, who has only done 2 Super League races, the last of which ended in a massive accident with Tom Stevens, Alex Laho, and Moritz Kropp all being taken out in one fell swoop. And Jarl Tyren luckily avoiding it, which has ended up having a huge impact on the championship.
Indeed. So before this qualifying session starts to get any more heated, I think we should address the drama that's been going on behind the scenes.
The elephant in the room, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we obviously won't get time for this before the race starts, as we'll be going through the grid and that sort of thing.
And the highlights.
So this refers to a race that happened actually 2 rounds ago, back at Spa. It's not even about the Italian Grand Prix. The top 4 on the road, if you remember, were Laurent Meunier first, was it Mark Schluter second, Jarl Tyren third, and Carlos Martin fourth. That's how they finished on the day. However, the top 4 drivers all received penalties for different reasons, various different incidents and accidents. It was a bit of a chaotic day in the wet, dry weather at Spa. Jarl Tyren's team, THR, appealed his penalty, which was for an unsafe rejoin, where he was given a very harsh 30-second time penalty. That has, we believe, now been upheld. So the appeal has been upheld, the penalty has been reached.
You're breaking
that
up,
means
Caitlin.
that Jarl Tyren...
Oh, you're back. Sorry.
Okay, so if you didn't hear me there, it was initially a 30-second penalty, very, very harsh, and it was reduced to a 5-second penalty. We believe that that is official. However, there has been very little word from the stewards themselves. On the website, it says that Jarl Tyen did indeed win that race because, of course, like Meunier and Mark Schluter both had larger penalties, and so they dropped back, and Ryan ended up winning it by 0.6 of a second. However, it seems that basically nobody got the news, and when that was casually dropped in conversation earlier on today by our cameraman Remco de Zeeuw, no fault of Remco's, I should say, he is completely innocent in all of this. It seemed that absolutely nobody had any idea that that we had actually had an answer to this. So we had Loic Meunier, for example, was not very happy about it at all. Posted some quite sarcastic comments, and to be honest, I don't blame him whatsoever, because I think he deserved at least a little more of a heads up about all of this. Jarl Tyen said that he realized he'd won that race when he noticed the results change on the website, and it seems there was a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions on that one. Some saying that the letter of the law was more important than the spirit, some saying that in the spirit of the rules, in the spirit of the law, the penalty was very, very harsh, and I think there are a few people who would argue with that. So, all in all, we are pretty sure that Jarl Tyen won that race, but we still haven't had official confirmation just yet, and the Excel spreadsheet that we normally use for standings has not yet been updated with all of this, pending the official announcement. This does also mean that Jarl Tyen is now just 6 points behind Loic Meunier at the head of the standings, and there you see the championship standings with Meunier followed by Tyen. And up until now, we really thought that this championship fight would be between Meunier and Tyen. But with Tyen's win last time out in Italy, and with his penalty being absolutely slashed... Sorry, Grangfist. I meant that we thought it was going to be between Meunier and Grangfist, but with Tyen's penalty being absolutely slashed, it means that he now moves ahead of Grangfist in the championship, up into that second position, and just 6 points off the lead. This is looking mighty, mighty close now, and all because of something that happened just behind the scenes. So, with all of that out of the way, what do you make of this, Ed?
Well, it's controversial because obviously the incident, we got 3 minutes left in the qualifying session, and I thought Grangfist has set an incredible lap while you were speaking there. We're looking at the results screen, and then Martin and Frelick have both beaten it with 2 excellent laps of their own, but it does put up a little bit of a question mark whether the TOP have set themselves up to be really quick over a single lap. Are they going to chew through their tyres come the race? As we look at Tyen, who is sort of on the bubble between qualifying and the top 15 again at the moment, but it looks like THR have been pretty much on the pace since the beginning. As you see, he's a 10th and a half up in the first sector. Xavi Roscoe's 6th fastest. Jarl Tyen can only go 10th fastest. There we go. So he's about 4 places behind Meunier and a couple more behind Grangfist. So the 2 title rivals. We can't forget Frelick is not completely out of the picture yet. He's 36 points down, of course. But of course, he did win eventually at Silverstone. He's only about 14 points behind Grangfist as well. So Simon Frelick is could be a big headache here as we see Stevens go 8th fastest. But yeah, going back to Spa, as we see Right Kilk has actually gone fastest in the first sector. That really shows you straight line speed can make a huge difference there. But I think Grangfist was the one that was really nailing that middle sector on his quickest lap, as we see Kilk abandoning that lap because his middle sector was about 4/10 off. But I think the incident for Tyen happened at Fanier chicane, sometimes called Piff Paff, where in the sort of dry tyres, slightly wet conditions, he went off, had to cut across the gravel and rejoin right in front of one of the HRGs. I believe it was Stefan Ruhl at the time, because I think Milnek had gone off in the gravel early in the race. And that was why he'd originally been given the 30-second penalty, and it was rescinded and reduced to just a 5-second penalty. So because I don't think he actually made contact with Ruhl, he just temporarily held him up to get a little bit high on the throttle, but contact wasn't made between the 2 cars. That's why the stewards decided to be a bit more lenient, essentially. And there's a sort of, I believe Sandeep Singh, speaking of him being in this race, he's put a post on the DC announcers basically saying that there's 3 bans, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds for sort of going off track and rejoining in an unsafe manner. So Obviously, you never ideally want to do that, and it was a unique situation. As Grankvist about to start his final lap. But yeah, certainly it's as far as THR are concerned, that's Jarl Tyne getting 50 points in the space of less than a week, so they're not complaining at all. And Loic Meunier has got a slightly harder job to do. He can't coast to his title now. He's got to fight every inch of the way, and Jan Grankvist too has got to fight to reduce that 22-point gap. So as far as we're concerned, we're in for an excellent show, Caitlin. So I don't think you and I can complain, as Grankvist sets a purple first sector and is absolutely on it right now.
Indeed, so we do have a qualifying session to wrap up here, and the checkered flag is out and waiting for those to cross the line. Carlos Martin completing the lap now. He says that he was in hospital the other day, and I hope that he is feeling better, and he's clearly going better as he comes up towards the finish. What is this lap for Carlos Martin? Ooh. He just needs 0.06 of a second, and he gets it. He's nearly 0.2 of a second ahead of Szymon Frelick. Now, earlier today, Mark Schluter posted in the GPVWC Discord he expected a TOP 1-2 in qualifying. Carlos Martin was quick to shut him down and said absolutely no way. Moritz Kropp goes to third place now. Grankvist goes to pole at the last minute. Can anyone deny Jan Grankvist, or is this the very end of the qualifying session? Alex Lahoud is on a lap. And he's lost it, and Lahoud is in the wall. No improvement for Alex Lahoud. Stefan Ruhl now goes up into fourth position. Here is the championship leader looking a little twitchy out of the last corner. Comes up to the line and does not improve. In fact, he backs off before the line. So Meunier will be 8th at best, but that looks to pretty much be the end of the competitive lap times. So Jan Grankvist has taken the pole position ahead of the two TOP esports cars, who did look very, very competitive there, despite Carlos Martin's protestations that they wouldn't. Szymon Frelick third, then Stefan Ruhl, Moritz Kropp, Alex Lahoud, Xavi Rose, Loic Meunier, Tom Stevens, and Maciej Młynek. It looks like Młynek just moved up to P9 there at the end. I think Młynek has actually qualified ahead of Stevens on my screen. Not sure quite why they were shown as the other way round. Then it was Tomasz Bock, Jarl Tyne there, P12, so he does not get the advantage of the hard tyres that he did last time out. Then it's Mark Schluter, Sven Schubert, and Robin Panzer. The top driver on those, with a free choice of tyres, will be Geoffrey Fournier in 16th. Then it's Riot Kilk, Pascal Pollens, Dylan Fisher, and Jorge Martinez rounding out the top 20. And then the back of the grid, this is, of course, before any penalties may be applied, not that we're aware of any penalties that are still to come, would be, it says, Lucas Murno P20, Sandeep Singh P21. On my screen, they've been passed by somebody, so I think we need to wait for official confirmation of this. But anyway, then it's Jukka-Pekka Laulu, Sergio Fletcher, Chris Shepherd, Heiko Poom, Robin Merling, Alessandro Maggio, and then the two Green Stripes cars of Stein Hangraf and Wopke Hoekstra bringing up the tail of the field.
Maggio has a back of the grid penalty from qualifying infringement at Monza.
Yes, I was going to bring that up, but you're absolutely right, Alessandro Maggio. I'd forgotten that, but you were right. Alessandro Maggio in the Valley Esports car will start right from the back. But anyway, there is your qualifying session, and we've spoken a lot about Spa, which of course was 2 races ago, but we can also show you in just a few seconds time the highlights of the last race at the Italian Grand Prix, just as a quick reminder of what happened there. 3, 4, 5, and when they go out, we are underway at Monza. Here we go. Good start from Dylan Fisher as he spins up the wheels and immediately goes to cover Jan Grankvist. The track gets very, very tight now as we go into turn 1. This is an overtaking opportunity. Lahoud's off. Lahoud went onto the grass and he took off someone else on his way towards the barriers. Yeah, so Fletcher gets involved here, and I think
Tangles wins with Lahoud, does he?
Yeah, Tangles.
Oh, that's Vac. That's Vac.
We're now watching on board with Thomas Vogt, and it is. So my apologies to Alex Lahoud. We can tell that it's Thomas Vogt because he's starting on the soft tyres, whereas Lahoud started on the mediums. So again, my apologies. And there you see him smashing through those polystyrene barriers. There's another schmozzle as we head up towards the Del Roggia. And that involved Geoffrey Fournier. We saw some tyres go flying. Now, how does this start? It starts a bit further up. It
gets hit in the back.
Yeah, well, it looked as if Fletcher was tipped into a spin, and I think it was the other. So here's Sergio Fletcher then, and he's got the second Spark racing car on his tail. That second Spark racing car being Markineth indeed. And I think there was contact between the two of them, and Fournier just kind of checks up, and then there's a bit of a chain reaction, which ends up in a bunch of flying tyres. And there's Fletcher going backwards. He gets hit, and that hit was enough to break his suspension, which ultimately took him out of the race. Maggio up to second. Wow, we didn't see that. Maggio is second place.
I think we did, actually. We did very much see it, but we were so focused on what was going on in the background. But yeah, Maggio just went clean around the outside of Grankvist at the first corner, got the overlap. Here comes Schluter trying to pick off Ross as well, and he's surely going to get the inside. He's got the move done before they get to the braking zone for Redifilio.
Here's Lattinen taking a look all over the back of Chris Shepherd, but that puts him under threat from Hygo Poom, and there's even more contact, and Poom spins into the side of Riot Kilk, who takes avoiding action. Tomasz Vok, rather, got through them all pretty well. Lahu now on the outside. Whoa, just about gathers it up. And that was a good move, actually, all the way around the outside of Stein Handgraf. Xavi Roast lost 10 positions at the start, didn't he? So this was earlier on. So this is how he lost the positions at first. Goes for a spin. And this is about a lap before he ended up losing all of those other places. And then it's either later on that lap or the next lap where he heads down into the Variante Ascari. And he's going to probably clip a curb or something. Just carries too much speed in.
But Maggio's going for the lead. Up the inside, and he's going to bring Jan Grankvist with him. Dylan Fisher is going to be side by side with the reigning champion. Just fends him off. They nearly lock wheels on the exit.
To be honest, I was going to say the real loser from that was Dylan Fisher, because he was the only person to lose a place. But he did really well, as we see Jan Grankvist having another go at him here. He did really well not to be passed by Grankvist on the exit of turn 2. But I think he will lose out to the champion now, as Grankvist does launch that move up the inside.
As Milnek is out of the race.
Very unfortunate for Maciej Młynek, one of the fastest drivers in GPVWC Super League.
Got disconnected.
This could be a disconnection, because he's on his own, and he's properly on his own. He is absolutely nowhere.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, and that's Mark Schluter, and he's having a little fight here with Shimon Frelich and Dylan Fisher. He went for for Fisher first, but then you see that sort of slinky effect that I spoke about, where you get a ripple back through the pack. And now it's Frelich's turn to shine as he goes to the inside. That's a difficult place, but Schluter has given him some room there. We're going to see a replay now. Stevens is side by side. Is that Lattinen in the Epic Racing car? Going into the Variante Ascari, and they come together midway through the corner. Tyan takes avoiding action. Kablam! And also involved is one of the Road to Formula cars, and and you did well to spot that, Ed. The fact that there'd been a crash in the mid pack rather than just a mass disconnection or something like that. But you were absolutely right. Stevens is going to argue that he didn't have enough room there, but at the same time, Lattinen was ahead going into the corner. I think. By FIA rules, I think Lattinen had the right to that corner, but realistically, I think Stevens had earned a bit more space than that, and that's just a bit of an unfortunate error. And was that somebody coming into the pits there? Was that Dylan Fisher pitting onto a two-stop strategy?
As we see Maggio coming out of the pits, and he's going to re-emerge behind Lalu, but crucially still ahead of Dylan Fisher. So Jan can really dictate the strategy, and he's coming in now. He thinks those extra few laps are exactly what he needs.
And there is Alessandro Maggio making up a place on Laurent Kiersmakers in the background. Lalu and Fisher doing a similar thing, and Jan Grankvist exits the pits behind them.
Meanwhile, Frelich now in the lead. How much longer are him and Schluter going to run for? As Mark Schluter's got another great run on Simon Frelich. Is he going to get his own bank around the outside? He's going to retake the lead. As here comes Grankvist. This time it's going to be a bit more straightforward as Kiersmaker sticks right to the outside. Grankvist up to 10th now.
But through now goes Maggio, and Markineth was not able to make that particularly difficult for him.
Schluter finally decides to duck in from the pits, from the lead. That puts Simon Frelich back into the top spot, and we are seeing Martin and Moynier dive in as well.
And Mark Schluter is able to exit a couple of cars ahead of them in the train. They might be split here by Hygo Poom. I was going to say it wouldn't make sense for it to be Fisher. He's a little way up the road. But Hygo Poom, they're in 13th position. So Martin and Moynier are 14th and 15th. And Hygo, they're going around the outside of... Sorry, Martin, they're going around the outside of Hygo Poom. as they make their way into the Del Roger chicane. I think there was a little touch there.
And Moynier up the inside into Ascari, and Hyperboom sees that coming a long way off. Frelick has to pit from the lead because surely he had to respond. Otherwise, he was just going to fall miles behind if he stayed out any longer. So Frelick is really the last of those that started on the soft tyres to pit. So Jarl Tyne is going to take the lead 5 seconds ahead of Maggio.
And you can see Shimon Frelick there on Chris Shepherd as they swap places into the corner. Yellow
Martin in trouble.
He's going to come together there. Little bit of a touch and around he goes.
Panzer.
Robin Panzer.
Fisher now a little bit further back, got the DRS open. You can see Grankvist bearing down on him, so the move needs to be made sooner rather than later. Up the inside, squirreling on the brakes, but Fisher gets it stopped in time.
Shepherd.
I think Moynier has passed him, so Martin...
I think Moynier's just passed the both of them that last lap, hasn't he? Look, Mounier there, up into 8th position. That's the move that we were just talking about. And this is the move he made on Laurent Kiersmakers, which he's done at a slightly tougher part of the circuit. I know it's still a straight, but you've got to line yourself up into the Variante Ascari.
Dylan is being slipstreamed for a long way back. No, Grankvist is just that quick then. DRS open. And here's where the move is made. He slots out to the right-hand side. Fisher sees it coming, can't really fight back, has to brake a bit earlier. And yeah, Grankvist does make the corner and gets the place there.
Robin Panzer now splitting the two red Archer cars.
As Martin gets back into the last points paying position past Stein Handgraf there.
March 3 to hit does have the move now on Sven Schubert, has the DRS. May use a little bit of push to pass if necessary, but goes through nonetheless. And now Frelick is going to put a move on the Sven Schubert car. Goes through, nicely done. And into the pits does come Jarl Tyne now, so Maggio will lead the race. Definitely safer to do mediums. There will be less of a
Fisher's making another stop.
See just what he can do from there. A top 5 is definitely still doable as Tyne. My goodness, right onto the ground. And Maggio is out. Maggio is out of the race. Alessandro Maggio out of the chicane. Is it a typical disconnection or did anything else happen? It's the same point on the track that we saw a disconnection for somebody else earlier on. And he disappears. That is, well, that's sickening. There's no other way to describe that. And Jarl Tyne will be determined to make this move. You can see that Martin is not determined to give it to him. He's weaving all over the place. Goodness me. Never mind one move of defense. Jarl Tyne now goes to the outside line, has the DRS open, and does go through. Martin's still not in the mood to give it up.
Now here comes Schubert, who's going to get himself into P9 there, as Markinev just basically stays where he is. No Carlos Martin style weaving for him.
Jan Grankvist now makes a pit stop. I think what we've got to look for now is where he comes out in relation to Tyne and Fischer.
Behind Tyne.
Dylan Fisher goes through as well, as Jaakko-Pekka Laulu now pits as well. So these two will both gain a place, and Panzer will indeed gain 2, potentially, although actually... Chris Shepherd, oh my goodness, wheel-to-wheel contact. Shepherd still had the DRS from his teammate going down into the corner, which is why he was still able to fight, but wasn't able to fend off Robin Panzer. And Fischer challenges, goes to the outside line, goes right around the outside of Tomasz Vok and does make it stick. He's now got a little bit of breathing room to Jan Grankvist behind, and he's got to get after Carlos Martin up ahead as quickly as he possibly can. Grankvist trying to go around the outside of Curva Grande. That will turn into the inside for the first of the Della Roggia chicane, and wide and off the road goes Vok, and he will have to, and he spun. I was going to say he will have to give up that place to Grankvist.
All this fighting against Martin and back for Fisher and Grankvist is really going to hurt their chances of challenging for the podium. Up the inside goes Fisher on Martin. He's finally got some clear air ahead of him, and now it's Grankvist's turn to deal with the Spaniard there. So yeah, Dylan Fisher up into a season high of P5, but look at Jarl Tyne, 2.8 seconds behind Moynier. Mark Schluter, though, has been doing a very, very solid job in the lead. It's going to be difficult for Tyne to catch before the end, but he's going to give it his level best as Martin decides this time to do the exact opposite approach with Thomas Vack into the chicane, and pretty much left plenty of room for Grankvist to slot through.
Grankvist passes Fischer. Grankvist has slipstreamed his way past Fischer, maybe had some push to pass left, and has got through into that 5th position. And now we see Robin Panzer up the inside once again. And I think he would have made that move stick down into the Del Roggia, and he does indeed. And Jarl Tyen is going to go through into third position from 27th on the grid. He's on the podium. What a spectacular drive.
But here comes Tyen to the outside. DRS will come wide open, and Simon Frelick knows he's absolutely defenseless here. So Tyen is up to P2. The gap to Schluter, 3 seconds with 4 laps to go here.
But something's happened, and this is where his teammate disconnected earlier on. Oh! Well, it's not a disconnection. That looked like a wheel failure. You can see that his steering wheel shot straight across to the left with no warning whatsoever. And does he... Yeah, there we go. Well, absolutely no saving that one. We head onto the final lap of the race here at Monza. Jarl Tyen will open the DRS and surely will go through into the lead of the race. If Schluter has any push to pass left, he'll be using it. Tyen goes to the inside, and on the last lap in Monza, they nearly touch, and Tyen takes the lead. Jarl Tyen has taken the lead and will now surely win the Italian Grand Prix out of the final corner. A 10-place penalty couldn't stop him. A terrible qualifying couldn't stop him. A trip through the gravel couldn't stop him. Jarl Tyen wins the Italian Grand Prix for the 3rd year in a row. That is one of the best drives that I've ever seen in GPVWC Super League. And here you see the confirmation. Tyen, Schluter, Frelick, Mounier, Grankvist, Fischer, Schubert, Martin, Kilk and Panzer the top 10. Thomas Vogt finishes 11th, then it's Chris Shepard, Jorge Marquez, Heiko Poom and Stein Hangraf. Alright, welcome back guys. We're nearly ready for the start of the 71 lap race here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Mexico City Grand Prix, or just the Mexican Grand Prix if you will. We've been talking a little bit more about qualifying. I was wondering about Jarl Tyen, because up until recently THR have been employing a strategy which is a little bit sneaky, where they've been qualifying outside of the top 15 deliberately, because the rules say that the top 15 drivers have to start on the tyre compound that they qualified on, but any position below that and you get completely free reign. That is why Jarl Tyen qualified deliberately in 17th position last time out. Knowing that he would get a penalty and start from 27th, he still thought that it would be beneficial to start on the hard tyres. However, today, the THRs did not do that. Jarl Tyen will start from 12th position on the grid. And I was just wondering, and I was just discussing with Ed Hunter here, was that deliberate? Like, did they attempt to go for P16 and just misjudge it? Or were they going for outright pace today and just didn't quite have it? What do you think, Ed?
I just don't think they quite had the pace there, because you remember what Toby Davies said at Monza. He said, we could maybe have got 5th to 10th. And Tom Stevens has qualified exactly 10th, so with Tyen only a minuscule margin behind him as well. I think the margin's so tight they realise if they deliberately tried that, they could go again at the back of the field at a track that's a little bit harder, because this is almost certainly going to be a much harder track, because it's a bit harder on tyres with the S's especially to one stop here than it was at Monza. So I really think THR know they're going to need slightly better track position early on. The problem is they've still got a lot of very, very quick drivers, and Stevens has got Milnek in between himself and Moynier. So Stevens will need a good start here if he wants to help his teammate out in that Drivers' Championship quest. But meanwhile, Jan at the top.
Indeed, so let's take a look at the order that they start this Grand Prix in. Jan Grankvist takes pole position ahead of Carlos Martin and Shimon Frelick in the TOP Esports cars. Stefan Rohr is in 4th position, returning after one race off. Then it's Moritz Kropp, Alex Lahoud, Xavi Rose and Loic Mounier, the championship leader, starting from P8, which is a little further down than he would have liked, but we've seen him do good things from there before. Maciej Winnick is P9, followed by Tom Stevens, Tomasz Vogt and Jarl Tyen. A characteristically middling, or uncharacteristically middling qualifying for THR. Mark Schluter, Sven Schubert, Robin Panzer and Geoffrey Fournier round out the top 16. And look out for Geoffrey Fournier, who will be the top driver with free tyre choice. I haven't yet looked to see what tyres they're starting on. Then it's Riot Kilk, Pascal Pollens, Dylan Fischer and Jorge Marquez. And we will move on very shortly to the grid. We've got Lucas Murno, Sandeep Singh, Jakub Ekalalu and Sergio Fletcher. Sandeep Singh, who made his Super League debut in 2014 and yet has still not done a full season of Super League. Then it's Chris Shepherd, Hygo Poom, Robin Merling and Stein Hangraf.
We're about to start,
and then
Caitlin.
Wopke Hoekstra, indeed, Wopke Hoekstra and Alessandro Maggio will round out the grid. We're rushing through this because we're about to get to the lights. The 5 red lights will illuminate, and when they go out, we will be underway for 71 laps of racing here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and we are underway, and it's a pretty slow start there for Shimon Frelich. Frelic's going to be slightly gobbled up by Stefan Rolt, who's got a fantastic slipstream from the back of Carlos Martin and gets to the inside now of Jan Grankvist and will take the lead potentially into turn 1. Grankvist covers him off and makes the corner. Jan Grankvist keeps the lead, followed by Stefan Rolt, Alex Laho, Shimon Frelich and Carlos Martin. And that's what I'm talking about with the long run down to turn 1, because TOP started 2nd and 3rd and they're down to 4th and 5th.
Oh, look at Stevens having a go at Moynier there, so he's got past Maciej Milnek, and now he's just denied by the Frenchman there. But critical for Moynier that he stayed ahead in 7th position to keep his title hopes alive. See Vac going side by side with Milnek into the S's. That was a no-go, and Vac knew it. The pole wisely backing out, and now he's got to deal with Jarl Tyne, our winner last time out. The man only 6 points off the championship lead, but he has not really made a whole lot of progress, down in 13th. In fact, he's lost a place, so he needs to clear Vac very, very quickly here. But for Grankvist, that's exactly what he swept across on the outside, prevented the attack from Rural. For TOP, they're down to 4th and 5th, but they could still make up ground with Laho and Rural starting to fight each other as Grankvist makes hay at the start of this one.
Indeed, in terms of tyre choice, Geoffrey Fournier, I believe, started on an alternate compound of tyre, but has lost positions at the start, presumably because he is on hard tyres. Maciej Milnek, what a start from him on hard tyres there, up into 11th position. I can't remember exactly where.
He was 9th on the grid, so he must be on softs.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the graphic hasn't yet updated somehow. I was going to say, but anyway, Fournier has definitely lost places. I think it might be Dylan Fisher, who is the highest placed driver on an alternate compound of tyre, at least according to the RaceView site that I'm using. But anyway, as the race continues, Jan Grankvist leads, followed by Stefan Roll, Alex Laho, fantastic start from him, then Frelich, Martin, Kropp, Mounier, Stevens, Ross and Schluter. The biggest winners in terms of gains of position at the start seem to be Fischer and Maggio, both up 4. Maggio, of course, from the very back of the grid, so there's no surprise in that one. Stein Hangraf up 7 places from 28th on the grid. What a start from him. And then, of course, the biggest losers, the likes of Geoffrey Fournier, who I pointed out, and also Sandeep Singh down 5 places. But what we like to see is that there were no front wings or even wheels going flying on that first lap. No contact as far as I saw. And Ed, as we're on to lap 3, it's still clean with all 30 cars running.
Indeed it is. And yeah, interesting you mentioned Stein Hangraf, because when we talked to him after Monza, where he snuck into 15th position, he was talking about his real life work as a sort of used to be an engineering student, and now he does a lot of engineering work with a real Formula 2 team, and he was talking about going to Baku and focusing on that, and now he's had to immediately go to back on the sim to Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and he's made a brilliant start, much like Maggio from near the back of the grid, to gain up just outside the top 20 here, and there's every chance on those hards that he could strategically outfox some of those drivers ahead of him and make up ground here. Frelich, by the way, set the fastest first sector of the race, so he is starting to close on Alex Laho, and Moynier too is less than half a second behind Moritz Kropp as well. So you can see the championship leader starting to get a bit impatient here, as I think Milnek's tyres finally are showing accurately that he's on softs rather than on hards or mediums. Dylan Fisher on the hards in 15th from Polenz, our winner last time we were here in 2022 on mediums. So Fisher has actually jumped him at the start, and that could be critical to how things play out here. How long can the AK Hero driver get those tyres to last? As Moynier is going around the outside of Moritz Kropp into turn 1, that's going to be tight. He makes it work. Like Moynier up into the top 6, and that is exactly what he needs to do. So Moynier, after a couple of tricky rounds where he didn't quite finish on the podium, he is now starting to get the hurry up here, as indeed are the two TOPs, because Frelich has just passed Laho.
Yep, Frelick up into third position there, as of course Mounier went right around Moritz Kropp to gain a couple more points towards his championship fight. This is so crucial at this point in the season with time gaining, and we're going to see a replay of something now, which I assume was the very start of the race. Here we go with Shimon Frelick, so we're not going to watch the start again, we're watching Frelick passing Alex Lahoe into turn 3. Now, as you were saying before, Frelick's becoming a real dark horse in this championship. I can absolutely see him getting another win or two before the end of this year, potentially even today if he gets a little bit of a hurry on. TOP look very strong here indeed. Meanwhile, Pascal Pollens repassed Dylan Fischer, and that's important because Pollens is the top driver on medium tyres, Fischer is the top driver on hards. Either of those drivers I expect to do pretty well today. Pollens is the only former winner of this race on the grid. He got his one and only Super League win here in 2022, and then it hasn't been held at this track since. And then Robin Pansar, I really had a good feeling about coming into today. I think he is overdue a good result. But Dylan Fischer, sorry, is the driver ahead of him in P16, and he as well got his first pole position last time out at the Italian Grand Prix, and now is running those hard tyres to try to go deep into the race. We're right on board with Carlos Martin now towards the end of another lap of racing, Ed.
Yeah, Pollens crucially has cleared Fischer. Fischer is lapping in the 1:16.3s on the hard tyre. Pollens on the mediums 1:15.0, and Pansar's in the 1:15.7s on the softs that he started on. So Robin Pansar will be the next to try and take that 16th position off him so that he can challenge Pollens for the final points-paying position. So plenty of work for Pansar to do if he wants to get a decent finish out of this one, but still a long way to go. Could be some attrition as well. We've got a number of drivers like Xavi Ross in 9th that don't exactly have spotless finishing records to their name in their short careers so far. Alex Lahoe as well decided, I think it looked like he didn't really fight Frelick all that hard. Once he knew Frelick had the momentum, had the inside into turn 4, that he was better off staying behind and getting the DRS, trying to fight with Martin, rather than trying in vain to hold on to that podium spot. So Frelick is now almost 2 seconds behind the Vrot and Grankvist. Vrot is still within about half a second of Jan Grankvist. He's done well to keep with him here as we see Sandeep Singh gaining a place, clearing the Super Enduro Jugabeg Alalu. These two were supposed to be teammates at Spa, with Singh, I think, was supposed to fill in for Grankvist when he was missing that round, and then he had an injury, so he wasn't able to do it. And now he's demoting him outside of the top 25 there, or top 26, I should say, for Lalu. So this has not really been a great race for the second Super Enduro, while his teammate has very much got to keep his nose clean out front and make sure that Rot is not given any opportunity down that fearsomely fast start-finish straight to slipstream and DRS his way back through. Remember, they have got that push to pass in play as well that they will be saving for crucial moments of the race. But those on the softs at the moment, degradation doesn't look that heavy.
Okay, so keep your eyes on first of all the leaders, but second of all that third place fight. Alex Lahoe got within 0.3 of a second of Shimon Frelick once again as they went down towards that first corner. I understand, Remco, I gave you a couple of different instructions there going down into that corner, but Remco Dijou, our cameraman, as always, doing a good job. You mentioned attrition, Ed. I think it's fantastic to see that we've had such a clean start. It's been a while since we've got to this point in the race without a single DNF. And of course, the last couple of races have been really high in attrition. In Italy, we had over 10 retirements. And of course, before that, we had Spa, which was wet and dry. Cars were spinning off all over the place, and there were a couple of big pile-ups early on in the race. I'm very glad to see that they're all running well at this point in time, and I'm just going to warn you about making statements about that again, because God, we do not want to curse this.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at the two TOPs. They look like they're set up on a knife edge, especially if you look at Carlos through that first chicane. He looks like a couple of times there in the opening couple of laps where the fuel was at its heaviest, he was sort of struggling to stay on track. But at the moment, he's doing well as we see Lahoe trying to counter-attack up the inside, back past Simon Frelick there. That was not part of TOP's game plan here. So again, TOP pushed back off the podium, and Simon Frelick may well be getting a bit frustrated here. But Alex Lahoe will be absolutely adoring the way this is working out so far, and he is not that far off the back of Rutt and Grankvist, even with having lost that time there. Fastest first sector of the race for Alex Lahoe.
Indeed, Alex Lahoe flying as he tries to catch back up to those top two. We're going to see a replay now. We're on board with Alex, and this was the last lap. Now, I mentioned he got within 0.3 of a second of Szymon Frelick. He's actually had a go at him and got through there into third position coming up toward. So this is actually this lap, my apologies, because last lap, of course, was the lap where he nearly managed it. So Grankvist leads from Alex Lahoe. And of course, we were talking earlier about the chaos that was the Belgian Grand Prix this year. Lahoe ended up inheriting a podium position as a result of the various penalties that were applied back then. That's not one of the things that has changed as a result of the penalty suspension that Jarl Tyen ended up being given. But Alex will be very stoked to see that his 5th place was miraculously turned into a 3rd place finish, and after so many poor results between the very start of the season and then, he will be, I think, back on the top of his form as he runs in 3rd position here.
Yeah, right kilt going into the pits, so as we see the lead start to close up, we're going to see a big DRS train, but right kilt has decided he's had enough. He wants to go on a harder compound. The man who's really been making moves since the first lap has been Stevens. He has gotten up into 8th place, past Xavi Ross there. So his teammate Tyen has only been able to pass Vac by comparison. So Tyen much more pacing himself a little bit more in this early stint, whereas Stevens is picking him off one by one. He seems a bit more confident on these softer tyres, as was the case in qualifying as well. So I think Stevens, if he can work his way in, depending on the strategy here, I think Tom is absolutely going to be a factor in how the podium places are going to shake out here. And Grankvist, he had a lap, the lap before the last one, where he was 9/10 slower than Rutt. He's got it under control now, only 2/10 slower. That previous one, the lap before, was invalidated. But here we go.
And look at this.
Is alongside up the inside into turn 1. Grankvist gives him a wide berth, and Stefan Rutt takes the lead for the first time this season. I think he was briefly in the lead in Hungary, but now well and truly at the head of the field is the 2021 champion.
Fantastic. Stefan Rutt, who had to miss the last race due to work commitments, which is a big shame because he was right off the back of his best result of the season so far, a 4th place finish in Spa. And Alessandro Maggio is out again. Absolute travesty. Of course, last time out he retired as a result of a disconnection while leading the race in the well, he was leading in the net order at Italy, and I do believe it was probably another disconnection. There have been a lot of jokes going around that he's been using mobile hotspot Wi-Fi, and to be honest, I'm not sure they're jokes at all, because as you can see, he is disconnected once again. And for the likes of Alessandro Maggio, it's hard to see why he keeps going in this. I do feel for the guy. He's a very strong sim racer, and I think that if he had done the full season, he'd have several podiums under his belt by now. But unfortunately, and Maciej Winnick is out of the race. Maciej Winnick has bitten the dust as well from inside the top 10. Now, he also had a disconnection last time out. Was this the same thing?
Quite possibly. Stevens very close to the back of Krop. And of course, we know Fraser Taunton and THR teams that are very close together, as we see Ross now just fending back Mark Schluter into that first chicane there as well. But yeah, all of a sudden, Milnek is out of the picture, and that is very much freed up as we see Vac having a go. Though it's Lahoe who's made a couple of mistakes and dropped down to P7 as he goes very wide off track up the inside. Comes Tom Stevens, and surely that's another place for Stevens as Lahoe is struggling to get the car turned in.
He's going slowly. He's got problems. Alex Lahoe is having severe problems here, and we do not know why, but I noticed him going slowly coming down the straight, and Alex Lahoe has bitten the dust. That's 3 drivers in the space of a lap, and I have no idea what's happened to the latest of the 3, because that was clearly not a disconnection for Lahoe. Now this is when he's already having his problems, but he was going slowly a whole straight before this all kicked off. So here he is in 3rd position on replay. Helmet rattling around for some reason. He's going at a decent click, and then I expect it'll probably happening coming out of this next chicane, because he's still going at full pace here. And does he have a spin or something? Whoa, he has a big twitch.
I wonder if it's a force feedback failure maybe, because he's really struggling at the wheel. He slows down immediately.
Yeah, he does. So he's having real problems here. He looks like he's trying to correct something. Maybe
Nearly
he
hits
did have
crop
a
as
force
well.
feedback issue or something along those lines, and then he just cannot get it back up to speed, gets eaten up by Tom Stevens, and then decides to call it a day. So something dreadfully wrong there for Alex Lahoe. And he says in the YouTube chat he got a drive-through and can't be bothered to carry on. Now, that is bizarre, and I mean, without... I mean, I'm not actually
Maybe
gonna
track
comment on that, to
extending,
be
as
honest,
there's
but-
Milnek being disconnected, which is a huge shame for him.
Yep.
Second race in a row, so looks like it's not only Italy but Poland as well that does not have exactly great internet access, and falling apart at exactly the worst possible moment now. So not only that, we've seen some pit stops as well. Reuter's pit from the lead and come out in 22nd behind Jukka-Pekka Laulu, and Xavi Ross is also pit, and now we're seeing Moynier in response along with Grankvist and Frelick.
I think that's pretty premature there for Alex Lahoe. I do respect every driver's, ability to decide whether to continue in a race or not, but when you're retiring over a drive-through, that's not exactly the kind of attitude that I would pick to be part of my racing team. But there you go. Lots and lots of pit stops on this particular lap. As you said, pretty much all of the leaders came in. Grankvist came in, and then basically everyone seemed to react to that. So Carlos Martin now leads the race, and we have to wait to see if he can gain any ground on Grankvist or Frelick as the race goes along. And here is Jan Grankvist now. He's got a little bit of clean air. He's got his teammate in front of him, and I don't expect that Jukka-Pekka Laulu will put up too much of a fight. It's going to be when he reaches the likes of Stefan Reuter that he might start to have some issues, and then there's the battling duo.
Reuter has undercut him, remember. Reuter undercut him. He's already pit.
That's true. That's true. My apologies. I hadn't even clocked that, but Stefan Reuter, who pitted earlier, has jumped Jan Grankvist. And now the question, I guess, is has he gained net position, or is he going for another pit stop? This is a brief yellow flag, and Mark Schluter loses a couple of seconds. I think he's had enough.
Yeah, exactly. So not greatest luck for the German there, but look at this. Handgraf and Singh fighting each other right in front of Reuter, and that's going to hold him up. So these guys running a bit longer. Might the overcut be the strategy to go for? Martin is hoping it is, as indeed the Toby Davis controlled THR cars and the Frosier Tartans as well, as now we see Handgraf. He's got nothing to fight against, even with the DRS here. It's going to be an easy move for Reuter into the first corner as the Super Venturis do the swap in the background. Grankvist now is one car closer to Stefan Reuter.
Okay, so Jan Grankvist, P17, gaining on Stefan Reuter, and he's got Stan Handgraf between, and there's a fight up ahead as well. That is Reuter going up and past Sandeep Singh, making an important move. Every move at this point in the race will be important for Stefan, as he gets one step further away from the chasing Super Venturi of Jan Grankvist. One of Jan's real fortes, one of his real talking points, is his ability to clear traffic super duper quickly, and that's really important with GPWC, where every driver has to make a pit stop. They have to use at least 2 compounds of tyre as the race goes along. It means you do have to fight your way through the traffic quite a lot, and Jan is possibly the best of the lot at doing so. Tom Stevens now leads the race because Martin, Krop, Tyen, Wok and Pollens have all pulled into the pits, and this first wave of pit stops has come very early, and probably too early to see drivers going through to the end on these hard tyres. I'm expecting that unless hards are absolutely the tyres to be on today, we'll probably expect a 2-stop race from all of these drivers.
Yeah, and Martin was actually being caught by nearly a second per lap by Stefan Reuter as well, so it made sense that they had to pit when they did, is they're all going very, very wide as they filter out into the middle of the pack there. So that has been a little bit chaotic. Tyen has come out in 18th position right behind Moritz Krop, and Xavi Ross has picked off Jukka-Pekka Laulu in all the confusion as well, and that's put him right behind Frelick and Moynier.
Alex Maggio has just updated us and said, "It's not a joke, Caitlin, I really am on my mobile internet." You know what I want to see? I want to see a race between Alex Maggio and Fabio Sixter, and the winner is just the first driver to finish a race. Anyway, Pascal Pollens, P22, something just went on in the mid-pack.
More bad news for Rotor Formula, because that was Vac looking like his connection was on the fritz as well, and it's dropped him to 25th. As Stevens now pulls the trigger from the lead, so where's this going to put the Englishman?
Okay, into the pits, Sven Schubert and Tom Stevens also in. I don't know why it gave us
That's what I
Schubert's
just
pit
said.
stop before Stevens, but there you go. Geoffrey Fournier through to the lead as he's under heavy fire from Dylan Fisher, and Fisher gaining on him, presumably in the slipstream. Jan Grangfist now going through on Sandeep Singh, and Royal, meanwhile, takes another step away from him, getting past Hygo Poom in his bid to escape from the Super Venturi driver behind. Royal continues to gain, continues to catch. His next target will be Chris Shepherd in the Red Archer car. Red Archer had a great race last time out, just their second double points finish of the season, and a team that's getting stronger as we go along. But Stefan, I was gonna say, is looking like he's going to pick him off as quickly as he possibly can.
Shepherd cut him off at the hairpin
part of the track, yeah.
Yeah, he just swept around the outside. He wasn't cooperating at all on those older, hard tyres. I'm enjoying this fight between the top four of Fournier, Fisher, Murno, Marquez, all on the alternate strategy. Chris Shepherd has another sideways moment at the Forest Stadium here, and all of this is allowing Grangfist and Poom to close in. Of course, Grangfist will need to pick off Poom pronto at the end of this straight, and it's a similar situation for Rot here as into the pits comes Marquez in the Spark. So that's going to promote them all another position here as Rot finally up the inside. Grangfist moving in synchronicity as well at the same time to go up the inside of the Estonian Hygo Poom there. And you can see Moinier as well has actually cleared Simon Frelich in all of this as they both clear the epic racing of Sandeep Singh at the same time.
Okay, so we're at the point in the race where the drivers on alternate tyre compounds are leading, and it may well start to die down a little bit. I say that, but this pack here is absolutely not dying down. You can see, is that every driver on track now on hard tyres? We'll have to wait for the bottom part of the screen to take over. But yeah, pretty much every single driver is on hard tyres. They're absolutely the compound to be on. And I guess that's not really surprising considering what we saw at Monza last time out. Grangfist and Rolt now have nobody between them as Grangfist has managed to clear Chris Shepherd, and the gap definitely did come slightly down. It's just a second now between the HRT and the Super Venturi. It would have to be under a second for DRS to come into effect. But meanwhile, we took a quick look at the leaders, Geoffrey Fournier and Dylan Fisher. Both the lead driver on their tyre compounds, and Loic Mounier demurts Hygo Poom as he moves up to P7.
That's a bold move. Loic wasn't going to wait for the straight there. He's right up the inside through the XF, the Peril Tarda, but this is going to create an opportunity for Frelich to go free wide. He sees the door open up the inside, contact between Moinier and Shepherd there, and that's going to allow Hygo Poom alongside as well. A little bit more wheel banging between the pair of them, and look, it's the Adonis swinging in between of Xavi Ross that gains 2 places in 1 there. So very, very grateful is the Spaniard who, after another great qualifying, is right in the mix as Shepherd loses out there. As he tries desperately to get alongside Sandeep Singh, who has also been able to capitalise in all the confusion there.
Yeah, so Hygo Poom ran off a little bit, but what a fantastic move that was from Shimon Frelich. A double overtake, and that was for position on Loic Mounier, who rather jumped him before that. But Frelich used the slipstream, kept his foot in it, and even though it looked like a narrow gap, he knew that he had to go for that. Very good move from Shimon Frelich, which I think will be very important later on in the race. And we're going to see a replay of what just took place there. We're on board with Shimon Frelich. You can see Mounier and Poom fighting up ahead, and he's just gonna, it's pretty much a triple overtake there as he goes into the corner, up the inside of Chris Shepherd as well. And then we'll hopefully see where Poom goes off. It looks like he just gets run out of road by Chris Shepherd and runs over the grass there. Here's a replay with Hygo Poom as the centre of attention. Little bit of a touch actually between Mounier and Shepherd, and then it's as Shepherd comes over, they bang wheels with Hygo Poom, who runs over the grass and loses out a couple of positions. Poom won't be particularly happy about that, but I think that was just a chain reaction caused by several overtakes going on at exactly the same time. Yeah,
interestingly, Stevens, obviously there were a load of drivers that pit a bit later and they dropped well down the field. Like Martin is down in 19th, really stuck in the pack. Stevens pit and came out just ahead of Jarl Tyen, and he is fighting away with Moritz Krupp for 12th at the moment. So he was starting to make a bit of progress, and now that progress has halted a little bit. All of the THR Fraser Tartans are starting to sort of squabble amongst themselves, and that is limiting the progress they're making here.
We're going to see a replay of Sergio Fletcher coming into the pits, and he
Oh, I think
wasn't
this
in
is-
there that long ago, so I think he's retiring. And that means that Valley Esports will come away from this round with precisely 0 points. And that is a big shame, so commiserations to Valley Esports. Chris Shepherd now into the pits, so ducks out of that tough battle that he was in. 26 cars, I think, remain in this race. 25 cars remain in this race, because Riot Kilk's out. I don't think we saw that, did we? But that is a big shame for Riot Kilk, who finished 9th place last time out, and I thought was one of the biggest and best drivers from that Italian Grand Prix race. And unfortunately, he will not be replicating it this time.
Yeah, big shame. He was the first to pit as well, so clearly he tried to do something a bit different, and it's not worked out for him for whatever reason. But interesting, let's give a shout out to Lucas Murno in the stacks. He's just been overtaken by Ruhl, but on the alternate strategy, he's kept right with Fisher and Fournier, the two Fs, who are fighting for what currently is overall victories. This is Kilk. He goes well off track while Martin is fighting with him. And those softs that he pit onto on, was it lap 7, lap 8? They're not looking in great condition. He's cutting the S's completely, so maybe there's something more terminal going on with that red Archer.
And then around the outside comes Tomasz Fork, and you can clearly see...
He's stuck in 5th gear, I think.
No, he's down to 2nd. I think he's okay. But, well, I know he's not okay because he's out of the race. He's just ducked into the pits there. He was touring it back, so something was not right on board that red Archer car. Whether he knew that he was out of contention for points or something like that, or whether he picked up a drive-through, I don't know. But anyway, Riot Kilk is out of this race.
Oh, it's an Adonis with no front
there,
wing. That's Panzer.
Yeah, Panzer returning to the pits without a front wing, and we didn't see how that happened. And Panzer's out. Panzer is out of the race, as there's a big scrap now with Lucas Murno being demoted a couple of places.
Moynier! Oh, hits him!
And there was contact with the championship leader there, Lucas Murno up the inside. He's going to be followed through by Xavi Rose, who's gained a few places in this whole scrap. And Lucas Murno down to 7th, but I think Mounier was lucky there to get away with his wing.
Yeah, crucially, by the way, Ruhl has cleared Dylan Fisher, and Fournier is finally picked from the lead. What should be, at least, you would think Fournier is probably on a 2-stop with the 50 laps we've got left to go in this race, but you never know. He could be trying to get, because he's obviously got to switch for either mediums or softs, because he started the race on hards, as did Fisher, I believe. So yeah, we'll be interested to see how this plays out. But crucially now, Grankvist is a bit further back and has now desperately got to clear Dylan Fisher before Ruhl disappears into the distance, and Frelick is not far behind either.
And here is Jan Grankvist also getting past Dylan Fisher to maintain that roughly 1.3 second buffer to Stefan Ruhl that he had before, as meanwhile Grankvist's teammate Jakub Lalu ducks into the pits. And of course, Stefan Ruhl and Jan Grankvist now do not have to contend with any more traffic. They're out in front all the way up until presumably their next pit stop, if indeed there is another pit stop. Here's a replay. And this is Robin Panzer's DNF. Now, we saw him returning to the pits without a front wing, so I'm expecting to see an accident here. As he comes out of turn 3, he pulls off, so this must have been after the accident when he's called it a day. His accident might have been just a couple of, well, probably the lap before this happened. And what's happened here?
I think Fisher's in trouble because he's dropped well down the order while we've been watching that replay. He was just passed by Frelick and Moynier right before we switched off, and now he's down to 17th as we look at Panzer wandering around with his wounded vehicle.
Yeah, so there was a yellow flag while we were watching this, but I think we were just trying to find the replay of what happened to Panzer. He locks up and he goes into the side of Riot Kilk, and that would explain potentially why Riot Kilk has also called it a day at the same time that Robin Panzer did, pretty much. So gutting stuff for both of them, and that is probably why they're both out of the race. Now, we're back to real time. Dylan Fisher is down to 16th position, so you're right that something may have happened to him. We've got pit stops galore with Murno, Schluter, Singh and Rose.
Look at the lead our top 4 have now over everybody else. Wow. Krop is 3 seconds behind, and that is the benefit of them all pitting as early as they did compared to likes Krop, Stevens and Tyan and Martin as well. But this could well start to turn on them if that Krop group starts lapping much quicker than them, because look, 1:15.8 last lap, whereas the rest of the Ruhl and Moynier in the 1:16s, whereas Grankvist and Frelick are in the mid 1:15s. So they're doing just enough at the moment, but they've not got track position.
And Grankvist is now within a second of Rural and has that DRS. We're going to see a replay of Dylan Fisher.
He got barged out again by Moynier. Well,
yeah.
it was Moynier hit someone else earlier, doesn't it? It was Murno. And then Zeeuw Ross, locks wheels with him. And oh dear, that's come to grief for both of them. So more horrible luck for Dylan Fisher. And Zeeuw Ross, horrible rejoin. He hits one of the edge cars. Was that Mark Schluter, who I think also went into the pits as well. I think Schluter got damaged by that.
I was just about to point out that Ross had made another pit stop, and I didn't think that was right. And that would explain why, because he's rejoined straight into the side of an epic racing car. I think the initial incident was Ross coming from too far back. Then it was an edge, sorry.
Oh, it was Schluter, definitely, because both THRs were just ahead of him.
Yeah, and also he was being a bit preemptive, trying to get that car running again. He was driving into the side of Dylan Fisher. I think Xavi Ross might have a plethora of reports coming his way after that one, I'm afraid to say. And he's down into 23rd position as a result. And Mark Schluter is out of the race. And I hope that's not because of damage that occurred in that incident, but I don't see any other reason why he would be out right now. Very unfortunate luck there for Mark Schluter, who has deserved way more from this championship.
And once again, the THRs both narrowly escape being destroyed in that accident as well. So Zeeuw Ross, again, unintentional, I think, taking out Mark Schluter when he so easily, if he'd been half a second earlier, it could be one of our championship or team's championship contenders, certainly, out of the race. Instead, they're still in 6th and 7th, and with a great chance of taking away a big haul of points then, as we now see Rult trying to just start to worry about Grankvist, as Frelick now is having to defend from Moynier behind him. So we have still got a four-way fight for victory, but it could well be that second race between Krupp, Stevens, Tyne and Martin ends up being of big consequence here as well. Don't forget Pascal Poland's right behind Martin as well.
Moynier chases down Shimon Frelick. His teammate has just been overtaken by Stein Handgraf. Stein Handgraf has been a bit of a P15 merchant recently, as he's been joking about, but of course he's now up into P14, which would be his best result of the season if he was to deliver it. He's now side by side once again with Markineth, who goes straight back through in the other Spark Racing car. So Jorge Markineth now takes that position away, and Stein Handgraf is in his much more familiar P15.
Yeah, Markinez is another driver that's gone from mediums to hards, hasn't he? So he actually qualified pretty well, all things considered, didn't he? If I just remind myself where Markinez was, P20, which I think was one of his better ones of the season. So starting to back up his teammate Luke Moynier, getting a few points here and there. Now we see Murno on fresh tyres, picking off Handgraf and dropping him out the points as well for Stax. So for Christian Zeeuw and the Stax team, this is a much better showing. Murno, the Brazilian, who's had so many great results in super lights. Wasn't there a little bit of controversy in between Murno and somebody else in super lights back on Tuesday? So I think Lucas Murno with a little bit of something to prove here, as Handgraf is in the pits. No wonder those tyres were starting to run out.
Yeah, meanwhile, Jeffrey Fournier just passed Hygo Poom, who is, I believe, still yet to stop. He's run very long into that race if that is the case, but anyway.
Yeah, he's the only one that hasn't stopped, I don't think.
That's true, that's true. So he's into 13th position, and he's absolutely trying to one-stop it. Now, one thing that I found interesting about this race so far is that recently we've seen a lot of one-stop strategies. They've definitely been the preferred way of racing, but here at Mexico City, I think they've all pitted way too early. And I'm just wondering why that is, because I wouldn't have thought that this track would have much higher tyre wear than some of the others we've been to recently. Definitely higher than Monza, I'd give you that, and probably higher than Spa. But, you know, realistically, I have to admit, I thought I was going to see more people trying to go a little bit longer in this race, Ed.
Yeah, I wonder if it's that sort of chain reaction, because Kilk was the first to pit, and then we saw a whole bunch of others follow, didn't we? The likes of Vrot lap 11, Grankvist lap 12, Frelick lap 12, Moynier lap 12 as well, and Kropps and Stevens in pit to lap 14 and 15. Same with Tyne and Martin and Polenz too. So yeah, it's really Fournier who is on that big alternate strategy, didn't pit until lap 20. Him and Murno, who pit on lap 22, are the two best placed of those who I think ran the longest in the first stint, in sort of just outside the top 10 in 12th and 13th then. So it'll be really interesting to see how their races play out. I think Fischer was trying to one-stop as well until he got absolutely attacked by Xavi Ross there. Murno, by the way, sits the fastest first sector of anybody in what is by far one of the least developed cars in the stacks, or it's been developed in some interesting, unconventional ways, maybe, let's put it that way. And Murno is absolutely making it work here at this sort of high-altitude circuit, maybe, where engine power a little bit less the be-all and end-all here, given the height we're racing at with the thinner air.
You say that. I've never quite understood quite how much that affects the cars on the simulator. I don't really think it simulates that. But anyway, you do have a point there. Tom Stevens through on Moritz Krop into P5. Stevens still on the move. Now remember, he started from, was it P10 in this race? And that means, of course, that up to yes, so it was P10, so he's up to P5 now. And that looks to be his genuine position at this point in the race. I was going to say earlier on, you still can't count THR out. I know that they have made a little bit of a habit recently of starting just outside of the top 15 and then making it work from there, but it's not as if they haven't had good results from 10th, 12th, 14th in the past. They absolutely have, and they absolutely can, so I'm not really that surprised to see Tom Stevens coming through. It's also worth noting that THR and FTR are kind of sister teams. They run out of the same stable, and that means that Moritz would not really have put up too much of a fight. He still wants to race him, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that was team orders there, but let's face it, Moritz is not going to do anything that's going to take Tom Stevens out. And Jarl Tyen coming through should, I say, should be relatively clean as well. Although Moritz Krop does still have the DRS.
Oh, Grankvist going for the lead.
To Stefan Roll, goes around the outside and gets the inside for the chicane. Jan Grankvist retakes the lead of the race. Here comes Shimon Frelich now, and we've seen him do a double overtake before. They're going to go side by side once again for the lead. Stefan Roll on the outside. Look, Mounier getting involved behind. And Mounier, oh, and I think there was a little touch there between Mounier and Frelich as Mounier was forced to take an unconventional line. And Grankvist does lead from Rohr, Frelich and Mounier. Fantastic racing there. And I was going to say, Rohr had a little bit of a twitch through the S's last time around. And I was wondering if that would give Jan Grankvist a little bit of momentum. But to be honest, I think he reeled him in more through the arena section and the final corner. And then just used that slipstream, that DRS, and maybe a bit of push to pass to catch and pass him on the straight.
Yeah, crazy four-way battle for the lead. And Mounier not happy to be delayed by Frelich there. This is all absolutely playing into Stevens' hands here because now he was, what was it? He was a second lap faster the last lap around, and the gap, you can see only 1.6 seconds. They were like nearly 4 seconds behind before this point, and them all squabbling amongst each other has really put THR into within touching distance here. So Mounier will be getting frustrated, and Frelich, of course, getting DRS from Ruhl, and I saw Ruhl on the run to turn 3, desperately using a bit of push to pass to try and get back around the outside of Grankvist, which didn't quite work out. So Jan is exactly where he needs to be, and he needs to clear off, while these three all squabble amongst themselves, with Stevens rapidly catching all of them.
Okay, so Jarl Tyen is up into 6th position. He's just over a second behind Tom Stevens as we speak, and we're approaching the halfway distance in this race. Dylan Fischer makes a pit stop now on what has been a bit of a disappointing day for him so far, through not really much of his own fault as a result of that accident.
He did 5 laps in that previous
Dylan Fischer, yeah, he's retiring, I'm afraid. That's probably why he didn't do that many laps, because Fischer is out of the race.
Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, he was basically fine to finish basically ahead of only Ross. There's 17 seconds you see between Ross and Handgraf in 19th, so it would have been a very lonely afternoon for poor Dylan. And after getting pole at Monza and getting that 6th position, that's a big shame, because I think he had the potential to do a lot better on that alternate strategy, and maybe one slightly over-eager move from Ross has compromised both of their day. In fact, it's ended Dylan Fischer's effectively. So the attrition continues, as I unfortunately predicted it would. We've had a load of disconnections, a load of technical issues, and now some accident damage as well for Fischer, Schluter, Panzer, Kilk, and Xavi Ross now, who's the only one that's survived all of that.
Yeah, so lap 31, Shimon Frelich is still on the back of Grankvist and Royal. I thought for a
Grankvist
second
is
there in
breaking
that
away
fight.
here.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, I say just a little bit. He's outside of that DRS range now as we exit the S's. But yeah, I thought for a minute there that Frelick was going to get involved in the lead fight on that straight where Grankvist and Royal were going side by side. But I think he had other fish to fry with Loic Mounier catching and nearly passing him as well. Tom Stevens within a second of that little scrap there, meaning the DRS train from the lead goes back to 5th position. Does Rot still have DRS from Grankvist? I guess we'll find out on this straight. He may have just lost it. I think he still has it. He still has it.
He does.
Okay, just about. And he needs to put in quite a quick lap here in order to maintain that. But anyway,
Depends how long these guys are going to run on this hard tire stint as well. That could be going against Grankvist a bit. Maybe he can't push as hard as he'd ideally want to because he needs to get these tyres a fair way into the race. I don't think any of these guys could be going to the end. Maybe Stevens, Tyne and Kropp and Martin will try it, but it does seem a bit unlikely because they only pitted a couple of laps later. So unless they've got amazing tyre saving abilities, it does seem unlikely they're going to pull off a repeat and one stop like they did in Monza, or at least try to in the case of Stevens, before being taken out. But yeah, Moinier, this is troubling times for Moinier because not only is he now stuck behind Frelick, but he's got both THRs catching him. If Stevens gets through, then it's very likely Stevens will try and help out his teammate in the Drivers' Championship. Only 6 points between Tyne and Moinier here, so if Jarl is given the opportunity, he's got the fresher tyres than Loic Moinier at this stage. It's very much game on here, so Moinier's got to hang on as long as he can, and Rot has had enough. In he comes.
now Alex Maggio was telling us in the YouTube chat just now he thinks this is a 3-stop race. For some drivers, I think it may be. For others, I reckon they'll extend to a 2-stopper simply because you lose a lot of time trying to come through traffic. But Stefan Rot here pitting before the halfway point in the race. This may well be a 3-stop race for him, and he's going to come out just outside of the top 10 there. He's in 13th position. Jorge Marquinez may still go through, and probably will actually on the straight with the DRS. No, a little too far back. That's okay. But yes, Rot P13 there as he turns into turn 1. That now means that Frelick has a clear shot at Jan Grankvist just ahead. He's bringing Loic Mounier and Tom Stevens with him. And now we've got to see if there are any reactionary pit stops in this this bunch of leaders. If there are, I think that pretty much confirms that it's a 3-stop race. But if some people feel the need to extend, I think they can probably go to the end on a 2-stopper. And I think that may well end up being what we see the likes of Jan Grankvist do, as he tends to favour the long stints in GPVWC.
He's crucially out of DRS range of Frelick as well, so he's not in danger of losing track position. Moinier pits in, he got to react.
So Mounier into the pits as well. Tom Stevens and Jarl Tyne both gain a place. And that is, of course, the championship leader, but only by 6 points after that controversial notification from Spa 2 rounds ago. Moritz Kropp is into the pits as well. And you see him regaining that position as he passes him and exits the pits on those hard tyres that every single car on track is running. So long as that is still the case, but I assume that it is. Loic Mounier P12 and comes out just behind Stefan Rot. And I think actually gained a little bit of time on him potentially. Certainly didn't lose too much time, put it that way. And now we'll attempt to follow him through the traffic as they've got a little bit of traffic on the same lap as them just up ahead.
Well, now, of course, Moinier doesn't have Frelick in between them. Frelick as well has also gotten just within DRS range of Grankvist as well on this lap. So he's pushing because he knows that there's still a big threat from Tom Stevens behind. In fact, he was 3 tenths quicker than Stevens the previous lap was Frelick, while Grankvist has dipped into the 1:16 freeze, and they're really struggling coming out of the Nigel Mansell corner / Peraltada as well. So the fronts and the rears just not cooperating with each other before they get onto that back straight. And now Simon Frelick here senses an opportunity, but is he going to get close enough before they have to get in the braking zone? Not quite on this occasion. But they are starting to break away a little bit from Stevens here. I think Stevens is pacing himself and trying to go longer into the race.
That was a really strange exit from the last corner. It looked as if Grankvist was going to come into the pits. Now there's 2 reasons I can think of that might have happened. Either he spun up his tyres and it looked like he was coming into the pits as Rot makes his way past Lucas Murno. or he changed his mind. He could have been coming into the pits and then decided at the last minute, no, not now. Or, and I know this is a third reason, and I just said there's 2 reasons I can think of, or he was trying to psych out Szymon Frelick and force Frelick into a pit stop, but I very much doubt the last one, since it actually made him vulnerable to Szymon Frelick down the straight. That was a little bit strange anyway. Loic Meunier has overtaken Lucas Murno, and is now right back with Stefan Roth. And if Granqvist or Frelick or Stevens or Tyen do pit, then it will be up to them to find their position in that battle, and amongst Roth, Meunier, etc. I personally think that that Frelick, Granqvist alike are probably going for a 2-stop strategy here.
Well, they sort of got to now, because if they pit now, they'll come up behind Meunier, because Meunier is 21.2 seconds behind Granqvist at the moment. So that is pretty much just under a pit stop. It's although Meunier is now 19 seconds behind, so yeah, he would definitely come out behind now. And Roth has actually got Meunier setting purple sectors, closing behind him as Jeffrey Fournier picks off Vac. And Roth's getting defensive, but he's got nowhere to go because he's got the road to Formula right in front of him as he gets to the braking zone. So Meunier fancies his chances here and is getting very aggressive then, as this could get very messy as they pick off those on older tyres.
Yep, it got messy last time out, of course, as Tom Stevens tried to make his way through from
the back. Look at the weather. It started raining.
Has it really? Okie dokie. I did not even know that was on the radar, let alone coming down. But you're absolutely right. Look at the cockpit of Loic Meunier's car. You can see the rain spots now, and we saw this at Spa as well. It was raining pretty much out of the blue. It started raining during. Actually, no, I'm not thinking of Spa, am I? I'm thinking of a race early this season where it started raining and we weren't quite expecting it. But here at Mexico City, this is fascinating stuff. We've got those S's, which are twitchy at the best of times and almost diabolical at the worst. And Frelick goes on to another set of slick tyres. He goes on to the medium compound of tyres as the rain starts coming down. Surely it would have been better to have waited for a few more laps to see if it was going to clear, or to see if it was going to come down harder, but medium tyres I wasn't expecting to see anyway.
Well, we're not expecting this to be a long shower. The forecast I just saw said break in the rain in 2 minutes, but that remains to be seen. Could still be quite a heavy shower potentially, depending on how long it lasts. As Schubert has got Roth going around the outside. Meunier keen to follow through. Just enough space left for him by the Fraser Tutton there. Schubert turning from the outside at the hairpin, and Meunier is putting it all on the line in increasingly wet conditions, with the championship really up for grabs. Him and Tyen on different strategies, of course. Tyen has got his teammate 2 seconds ahead, helping him. Yellow's in sector 2. But yeah, Meunier really impressing as he keeps the pressure on the back of Stefan. Oh, and is that Polenz in the wall?
Crash. That is a huge crash for Pascal Polenz, the previous winner of this race. He won it in 2022, but today he will come away with nothing. And here's a replay of what's just occurred. So Pascal Polenz in the S's, and I was saying that these could get absolutely treacherous when it rains, and he's going to take a little too much curb there and just get sideways, and wallop. Pascal Polenz destroys his car against the barriers. And luckily there's a little bit of a gap that he can tuck his car into, so he's not in the firing line for any other cars. But that puts him well and truly out of this race. Meanwhile, Jan Granqvist pitted from the lead, and Granqvist comes out well. And Frelick, yes, Frelick jumps him, but also they both come out well behind the likes of Roth and Meunier. Fascinating stuff. Stevens and Tyen now lead the race, and there's a Green Stripes car pulling off. Is that Stan Handgraf pulling off the road? Oh, Wopke Hoekstra, my apologies. So Hoekstra pulls off. Handgraf's still running in 18th position, and I don't know if he's just getting out of the way of the leaders, but that looked a little more dramatic there for Wopke Hoekstra. But anyway, yeah, the rain appears to be letting up now. I'm keeping an eye on race view. It's gone. Okay, so the rain has stopped, and that means that well, if it did sound like criticism that I was giving to Szymon Frelick for going on to another set of slick tyres, then I withdraw that criticism, and I do apologise. But I'm still a little surprised that he went for the medium compound tyre. He's now on the back of Sven Schubert's FTR racing car.
Yeah, we don't see any more rain, and for the next 48 minutes then. So should be just about clear to the end of the race. And Schubert is being picked off here by Frelick. And don't forget, Grankvist there is going to be right in the rearview mirror as well. So again, much like Ruhr and Moynier, Grankvist and Frelick both dueling away with each other, as Murnau is now also been picked off by Kropp, who's sort of switched onto the same strategy as Ruhr, Moynier, Frelick and Grankvist.
Okay, so Loic Meunier here on the back of Stefan Ruhr, and this could end up being the fight for the overall lead. Of course, Stevens and Tyne are a bit of a question mark because THR are always a question mark in these races, running first and second, and we'll wait to see how long they go and even how many pit stops they make. But Ruhr and Meunier, their battle is unquestionably important for the race win, for the podium, for all of those positions. And of course they've got Jan Grankvist on the back of them now as well. Oh, sorry, they've got Fournier, Frelick and then Jan Grankvist. And that's the three cars that you're seeing on your screen right now. Frelick a little bit of an odd one out
Fournier
on
in
those medium tyres, and Fournier of course was the odd one out, having not made his second stop, but he now has made his pit stop and come into the pits. And in the background, the two FTR cars swap, and we might be about to see the same thing between Frelick and Grankvist, but Frelick, with Grankvist, is satisfied enough to stick in his draft. Stays in 6th position for the time being. He's trying to follow Frelick up towards the back of Loic Meunier's car.
Now, what's interesting here, Moynier has actually started working with Ruhr. They were both lapping in the low 15s, even the high 14s as well, whereas Stevens and Tyne are in the mid to high 116s and sort of matching each other lap after lap. So yeah, Frelick, of course, interestingly, has gone on the mediums, whereas Grankvist has gone on the hards. So Frelick is on a slightly unusual strategy. He's gone soft, hard, medium. So Frelick is definitely, you would think, got to make another stop before the end.
Yeah, so we've got quite a few drivers on mediums now. You can see 4 drivers there on your screen, and Xavi Rose has just made a pit stop as well. It looks as if we're getting to the stage in the race where the hards aren't necessarily the best tyres to be on. And there may be a couple of reasons for that. First of all, if it was getting a little bit slippery because of the rain, it's slightly better to be on a medium compounder tyre than a hard compounder tyre. But also, as we see Meunier there, I think he is working with Rolt, isn't he? He's not putting him under too much pressure. And Grankvist and Frelick doing a similar thing. Tandem draft.
Fastest lap for Frelick.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. The weather, even though it changed for a second there, has not affected the speed of the track too much. And as he said, Szymon Frelick just set the fastest lap of the race, and he took it away from Tomasz Bock, who had set the fastest lap just 1 lap before. So that means, of course, that the track is the fastest that it has been, despite the quick rain shower. Carlos Martin now looks set to take that fastest lap, and he's on the back of Sven Schubert.
Yeah, Martin is the one who lost out the most in that first pit phase, didn't he? Because he was right with Frelick and Grankvist and Meunier and Ruhr in the opening stint, wasn't he? Then got stuck in the traffic because he pit a bit later and got jumped by the THRs up the inside into the Adrian Fernandez corner, into the Ferrosol. He's going to go around the outside of Sven Schubert on the mediums, and just enough traction to make that one work. That was bold. He wasn't going to wait for the straight there. He decides to absolutely risk it. Carlos absolutely on fire at the moment.
Yeah, that's not normally an overtaking opportunity, that corner. It's very much just there for a spectating opportunity, but Carlos was not going to wait, and rightfully so. And Stefan Ruhr was slightly less cooperative with Loic Meunier there than he has been the last few laps. Actually took a little bit of a look at the back of that Spark racing car, and I think there was a change between Murnau and Schubert on that lap as well. And we're going to see a replay of Meunier getting up towards the back of Stefan Ruhr's car. How much of an attempt did he actually have here? He's properly gone for it there. I think he was intending to go up into 3rd position, and then Ruhr has just... He's got it. Sorry, my apologies. I must have zoned out for a second there, because Loic Meunier has indeed...
also at the exact same time passed Frelick in a very similar fashion.
Yeah, you're right. My apologies. My brain was just not in gear there. But Jan Grankvist has got past Szymon Frelick at exactly the same time that Meunier passed Ruhr.
That is interesting because it shows that Frelick, maybe even with the mediums, was just too vulnerable going into that opening corner. Tyne pits from P2. So they've put the championship leader second in the race behind his teammate. He has had the first call on pit stops So how much longer is Tom Stevens going to run? Surely he is going to be in next lap.
Okay, so here comes that crucial pit stop for THR. I think they'll try to run it to the end of the race from here. That will make it a 2-stop strategy as opposed to the 3 stops that we've had for Mounier, Royal, Grankvist, etc. Now, what tyres are Jarl Tyne on here? We're going to see as he goes round the bend.
It's hards again.
Hards again. Now, we have to take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt because sometimes it takes a lap or so to update, but I do believe that is true, that he's on the hard compound of tyre there. There was a move further back with Fournier and Walk as well. But yeah, this is to the end of the race now for Jarl Tyne, whereas the likes of Mounier, Royal, Grankvist, etc. all have to stop again. And Tom
Grankvist within DRS of Royal now, I think. He's exactly a second behind. So that could be very, very interesting. Mounier having made the move at exactly the crucial moment as in comes Stevens, just as I predicted. So he's going to come up behind Tyne.
That's super important for Mounier, Royal, Grankvist, etc. because they all have to stop again. And yes, it will be a little way from now, but they have over 5 seconds to gain in terms of the net order against Stevens and Royal. And I wouldn't be surprised to see when these guys do make their pit stops at the end, I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out in relation, or very close in relation, to Tyne and Stevens. Tyne is ahead of Tom Stevens. That's the crucial thing for THR there, and it's important not just for the championship, but also for this particular race. Jarl Tyne will lead their charge up the order, and now they've just got to get past the cars such as Lucas Murno, Carlos Martin, Moritz Kropp as quickly as they possibly can. By the way, a quick shout out for Lucas Murno. I've been trying not to harp on too much about Stax Racing today, but Lucas is well and truly inside the top 10, and yes, he's got to stop again, but this has been a good drive for him and a really promising one, and we have to wait and see if he can bring Stax their first points finish of the season. And of course, now if it doesn't happen, a good donor is going to post in the YouTube chat that I've cursed them somehow. But anyway, Jarl Tyne gets through on Murno, and Tom Stevens will follow him through very shortly. He's caught him in an awkward place, but he'll get through on the straight. And here comes Grankvist.
Grankvist on the back of Royal here and getting very defensive into the first corner there. The sun has come out, the track temperature's gone up a couple of degrees. That will help those on the hard. So Simon Frelick starting to fall behind this battle. But yeah, Grankvist getting very aggressive now because he has got the fresher tyres compared to these two, and they are holding him up, and that is going to help THR. But look at Grankvist determined to find a way past Stefan Royal, and Mounier has not been able to break away from either of them.
Okay, so the top 3 got very close into that first corner this time around. It almost looked like Loic Mounier was in danger, but he's now got a little bit of a gap out in front. The momentum that he carried, that Royal and Grankvist were not able to carry due to their fight with each other. And you're right that the track temperature's gone up. The sun has very much come out as well, and Stefan Royal will have another attempt here as they come down the start-finish straight. Ooh. But he's had a twitch. He had a twitch out of the corner. That was not a great exit, and I think he's going to be under pressure from Grankvist here. Watch the dark blue Super Venturi car as he gains and gains and gains. He has the disadvantage of Royal also having DRS from Mounier in front, and Royal is able to hold that position into turn 1. I think if he'd got a slightly better exit there, he would have been able to challenge Mounier for the lead.
Yeah, Tyne 2/10 quicker on his first flying lap out the pits than Mounier. He now has gone half a second quicker, but Stevens has set a 1:14.6, another 4/10 faster than Tyne in turn. So it's interesting that Tyne got the first call in the pit stops. Do you think Toby Davis just didn't want to have to make the call to tell Tom to move over for Jarl for the sake of the Drivers' Championship?
I don't know about that, but I do know that Tyne and Stevens will be fairly happy with their position right now, fairly happy with the job that they've got to do. They both know it, and they are both well and truly up for the challenge. I'm very much going to keep my eye on the pace of those two THR cars. Yeah, and
started raining again.
I was going to say, I've noticed the spots on the nose cone, but it's still bright and sunny out ahead. Look at that. We've got blue skies, and yes, there's clouds up there. Do we expect this to just be another quick shower? Probably.
Should be. My
there we
weather
go.
radar says no precipitation for at least 120 minutes. So it'd be very against the forecast if it starts falling down anymore. But that just makes it even trickier for these guys who are trying to time that final stop perfectly. Can't afford to lose too much time to Tyne and Stevens here. We got Martin, who appeared about 8 laps ago, so his tyres are actually in pretty decent nick, and he is about 7 seconds ahead of Jarl Tyne there. So Martin is on a interesting sort of half and half strategy, whereas our top 4 are very much on very, very similar strategies. Moritz Kropp also converted to that strategy as well. His tyres are 13 laps old. So it's unlikely we're going to see anybody pitting for Inters unless it gets incredibly bad. We did see Poland's crash out before, though, as now we see Singh picking off Chris Shepherd there into the first corner. Sandeep Singh takes that final points-paying position for Epic Racing there. Good racecraft from Sandeep. He's kept his nose incredibly clean. That's exactly what you expect from a man who has adjudicated on a lot of incidents this year and has raced one of the few drivers to race incredibly cleanly throughout the season in FS2, I think.
Yes, of course, and a very experienced driver at that. His best result in Super League has been a 5th place finish, and I think that was at Spa a couple of years ago. I checked it earlier and I've closed the page now, but I know that it was a 5th place finish in 2022. Sandeep running in 15th position as we speak. Now we look at Jan Grankvist, and it was almost like the weather was just listening to me a couple of minutes ago. I was talking about how it was bright and sunny, but still the drops were coming down, and then the weather was like, oh, okay, better change that, and suddenly the clouds came over in an instant. It's funny how things like that can happen in sim racing, but it does make it very hard to predict the weather because sometimes you can't even rely on your own eyesight. But the rain is still coming down according to the live timing. It's not particularly heavy, and they don't seem to be struggling that much as we speak, but rain is rain. The track will be slightly tougher than it was before, and if it keeps up for longer, then I think it will start to get a little bit more tricky. There'll start to be a dry line forming, and everything else will become like an ice rink, but they all seem to be sticking to their line as we speak. Jan Grankvist here following Ruhl and Mounier onto the start-finish straight, and once again they will open the DRS and see just how close they can get to the car in front of them.
Yeah, Mounier has really worked his way to get into the lead, hasn't he? He's taken this race by the scruff of its neck. Ruhl trying to stick with him. Grankvist from pole position on the slightly different strategy. He decided to let them pit first, and now would have been hoping to reap the advantages of that, but the rain may have put a spanner in the works. Frelick, though, on the mediums, he's in the most awkward position because he is running out of tyres at this point. So this is a case of, as the sun does come out now, so that is at least going to take one variable out of the equation then. But yeah, Frelick is going to have to pit first, so he is going to potentially get the undercut, but the risk is here, if he goes too aggressive here, then he could be really biting himself in the backside come the end of the race.
Indeed, David Yunt saying maybe somebody just took a station and that's what took place, but indeed, Loic
Splash
Mounier,
and dash, if you will.
splash and dash, I like it. Loic Mounier
All that
into the
endurance
arena
racing
section
commentary, yeah.
towards the end of another lap of racing, and surely he takes a deep breath every time he comes onto this start-finish straight. He'll be watching his mirrors, he'll see Stefan Ruhl and Jan Grankvist getting closer and closer all the way down the straight. He's just got to hope that they haven't got that little bit more stored up that they might well have. And look at Stefan Ruhl, he is lining him up. He goes to the inside line and will pass Loic Mounier in exactly the same part of the track that Mounier passed him just a few laps ago. Stefan Ruhl once again leads this race from Mounier and Grankvist. Grankvist may now have a chance coming down the straight, and meanwhile the THRs have swapped, so Stevens has got back past Jarl Tyne, and Lucas Murno has come into the pits. Interesting stuff there, Ed. I didn't expect that THR would do another swap again, but do you think Stevens was just a little bit quicker?
He is, and he's got a lap fresher tyres now, so there's no reason not to do it at this phase. And he's got within about 12.8 seconds of Ruhl in the lead now, so Stevens is doing exactly what he needs to do. And from a driver's championship point of view, as long as Tyne is still ahead of Moynier, Rult, Grankvist. He's in a net game position. Late dive from Grankvist into the Ferrosol, and that's really going to lose both of them time as Moynier nearly pushes Grankvist into the wall there. Very aggressive, but that has backfired for both of them, and Rult now is nearly 2 seconds ahead.
A moment of desperation there for Jan Grankvist. He saw Mounier run wide in the previous corner. He saw that he'd made a mistake and he thought, now is my time to shine. And he does go through on the inside of Loic Mounier up into turn 1, but they've dropped out of DRS range of Stefan Rult, and they are under pressure now from Szymon Frelick, and there's been 2 DNFs. Carlos Martin and Tomasz Vok are both out of this race. I was just about to comment on Tomasz Vok, that was gutting enough, but Carlos Martin, who was honestly one of my dark horses for the win here today, is out of the race from, I think, 4th or 5th. He would have been running in 5th position at that point, and with 20 laps to go, he will not. And Robin Merling's out as well. So 3 DNFs on 1 lap. What is going on here, Carlos?
We seem to bunch our DNFs in groups of threes, don't we? Because we had, didn't we? Yeah, it was like, that's 3 times now. We've had 3 people either crash into each other or get disconnected at the same time. So here's Vac into the S's. Does he do exactly what Polenz did? Just get a little too far over the curb? No, he gets disconnected. So
was there a mass disco? Oh, I hope not.
And here's Carlos, who, as you say, was doing really well. There was still a chance in the Teams Championship for TOP. And going into the first corner, does the connection just fail on him? Yes, it does. And then finally, Mulling's lost the front wing, so at least Robin, his disaster is of his own making, as we see Krop now coming into the pits from 5th, which is going to let both THRs through. So he's the first to pull the trigger, and that will put pressure on our 4 leaders. But yeah, both Carlos Martin and our sole remaining Road to Formula, Thomas Vac, no longer remaining there, both out of the picture.
I think the ghost of Alessandro Maggio has come back to wreak havoc on this race, and Carlos Martin and Tomasz Vok have both got bitterly unlucky there. We didn't see quite what happened to Robin Merling, but that does mean there's only 18 cars remaining in this race, and we're getting to the stage where you just have to finish to have a good chance of points, and strong points at that. Stefan Rult is now under threat again from Grankvist, who's within a second of him, and Grankvist has lost the, well, he's pulled away from the DRS of Mounier behind. Now Mounier appears to be struggling these last couple of laps because, of course, last lap he made his mistake in the arena section, which is what allowed Jan Grankvist to make that lunge in the first place. But he hasn't been able to stick with him. And now watch as Jan gets a fantastic exit to the final corner, and this will be a chance to take the lead of the race potentially. He'll have the DRS. How much push to pass does he use? We have literally no way of checking, but he goes to the inside, and that will be a relatively straightforward move. He sweeps past Rult and leads the race just as he did near the start. Jan Grankvist, who is the reigning Super League champion, 3rd in the championship this year, will once again be the #1 driver on our screens.
And not a moment too soon, because Stevens is within 9.6 seconds of the lead now, with Jarl Tyne about only a second behind him as well. So that is very much heating up. Jeffrey Fournier, who of course on the alternate strategy, as inevitably for the 3rd time in this race, it has started raining again. Fournier is on a really interesting strategy, because I think he has only used hards and mediums in this race. He started on the hards, and then I think has done 2 medium stints, as we see Lucas Murno gaining a position. Now it's his turn to pass Chris Shepard for P12.
I wonder if you're somebody like Wopke Hoekstra, do you just stick on the intermediates at this point and think, well, what if people start crashing out ahead of me? I can just...
Hoekstra is the only one on the softs right now, so his tyres at least will stay up to temperature a bit longer.
That's fair enough, but it keeps raining down more, you know, why not? But,
Grankvist in the pits.
Okay, now what does Grankvist do here? We were expecting him to pit once again. I'm not expecting the track to be wet enough.
Lane looks a bit heavier.
It does look heavier visually, but it's not really about how hard it looks, it's about how long it lasts, because it needs a chance to settle. But Grankvist has gone for another set. I'd be surprised if he went for another set of hards at this point. Has he not gone on to mediums or something? I'll see if that updates as it goes along. Moritz Krop passes Jeffrey Fournier just behind Jan. But anyway, Jeffrey Fournier, Stefan Rult now leads the race from Mounier and Frelick. Jan Grankvist runs in 6th position, and you see there exactly what I was talking about earlier, which is that the THR drivers have both jumped Jan Grankvist, and by quite a long way. They're 10 seconds ahead.
We're seeing our first Inters runner. Schubert pits for the
Okay.
Inters.
That's an interesting strategy, and Sven Schubert comes out in 14th place. That may end up paying into his hands if it rains heavier. And we see, where's Grankvist? He's still on
Grankvist
hards.
is on the
Okay,
hards. So he must be putting hards on that he can just really push, and it's unlucky for Grankvist that this heavier rain shower has appeared at exactly the wrong moment. Yeah, it could be an error if he does the full lap and then it switches to mediums. We'll know we've got it wrong here. But yeah, we can only act on the information we got in front of us, and that says Jan Grankvist on the hard. So maybe even he is worried about tire life to the end. And that tells you the job that THR have done here. How long are Ruot and Moynier going to stick it out here? Frelick as well has done well to get the mediums further than Grankvist did on the hards.
Yeah, I mean, it must be heavier than before. We can see visually that it's heavier, and the fact that we've now seen intermediates appearing. Let's see what Jeffrey Fournier does here, because he's pitted from inside the top 10. Whoa, that was a little bit twitchy there from Stefan Ruot towards, well, it's every time he gets on the curb, isn't he? It just kind of twitches to the side. And what tyres is Fournier on? I can't really see from that angle.
It's a dry tyre, I think.
Yeah, hard tyres. I'm surprised to see people putting on hard tyres at this point, because surely you could run to the end on mediums, but there you go. Chris Shepherd is also in the pits now.
It's risky, because if it stops, you basically have no option but to come in again. Shepherd is also taking the plunge. Him and Sven Schubert is busy. Yellows in sectors 1 and 2. So the track is getting really treacherous out there for somebody or other. And I think Moynier is catching right back up to Ruot now as well.
Okay, Ross is in the pits, Hangraf is in the pits, Mounier and Ruot both come into the pits from the lead of the race, and that means that Shimon Frelick will also come in, and Tom Stevens will take the lead. Now, Tom Stevens' fate rests in the weather. If it keeps raining, he will have to stop, and he will drop behind this bunch.
So will the rest of them. They're all going on the dries, Caitlin, except for Ruot.
Wow. I was going to say, if it dries out, they may still be in with a chance of, well, pretty much running away with this race in the late stages. Ruot is on intermediate tyres. Is he the odd one out in this bunch? Did anyone else go for inters?
Not to my knowledge, no. It's only Ruot, Schubert, Shepherd, and Xavi Ross that are on the intermediate tyres right now. So their gamble really is that the rain keeps going and it doesn't dry out, but it has just dried out. Oh no, has Stefan Ruot, by gambling, lost everything here. As we see a front wing lying on the exit of turn 3.
Yeah, somebody's had an incident there, and Jorge Martinez is in the pits. I don't know whether that's just a stop for tyres or whether he was involved. But anyway, the rain does appear to have stopped. I think Stefan Ruot, unless it starts again, may have shot himself in the foot, but it's the risk that you take in these races. And here we see Jorge Martinez, and I think this pretty much confirmed. But this isn't the same point on the track as where we saw the front wing. He's had a spin anyway, goes to the inside and clips the wall, but gets away with it. Returns to the track, but it was a bit earlier on in the lap that we saw the front wing. Was it Sandeep Singh? No, okay, he's going to have a spin all by himself, I think, down into the S's. There he goes, and that's got to be the toughest part of the track when it's damp. Those corners are hard enough when it's dry, especially and it's Hoekstra. Hoekstra has hit the wall, and you can see the front wing missing from that car, and the suspension looks pretty bent as well. Now, if I was Wopke, I would keep it going at all costs, because you never know what might happen. And in a race of attrition like this, you could still potentially score points if just 3 more people retire. Hoekstra now pits. Stefan Ruot comes into the pits, so he's been forced to give up on his strategy. No real surprise there, and that means that Ruot is now out of contention. I think this race is all in the hands of Tom Stevens, and well, it depends now on Jan Grankvist as well, because Grankvist pitted much more recently. He'll be charging, he'll be challenging. He is catching, and we expected that he would. His last lap was actually invalid, apparently, Jan Grankvist's lap. But we'll keep an eye on what the gap actually is at the end of this one. But I reckon this race now is between Tom Stevens and Jan Grankvist.
Oh, and to add insult to injury for poor Stefan Ruot, guess what's just happened? It started raining again.
Has it really?
That is so unlucky. After just one lap, he immediately saw the weather had changed and changed tyres in response, and now the rain is falling again. So Grankvist really could have done without this, because he just wants a dry race where he can catch time uninterrupted here. But now this makes it so complicated. Schubert and Ross, they stayed out on their inters, whereas both Ruot and Shepherd pit off them.
Yeah, and if Royal has to pit for, I mean, I don't think he'll have to pit for Inters again, but if he did, he would end up dropping behind the likes of Sven Schubert, and that would really rub salt in the wound.
Grangfist catching by nearly 2 seconds a lap here. Murno pits from 7th then, so he is going to take the gamble on the Inters, surely.
Okay, Lucas Murno does come into the pits, as you were saying. He's up on his jacks, he's down from his jacks, and his tyres are green. That, of course, means intermediates. Sandeep Singh is in the pits as well now. Just 18 cars remain in this race. Only 15 are on the lead lap. If you finish on the lead lap, you're pretty much guaranteed points. Sandeep Singh now on the intermediate tyres as well, and resumes the race.
This is really a question of, can you stay on the road? And your best chance of doing that with the conditions, even if it keeps going on and off like this, you're better off on the Inters in the long run.
Indeed, indeed. Welcome to Jake Denahan, former champion in the YouTube chat, claiming to be controlling the weather. I think he's doing a rather cruel job of it at this point in time. But anyway, keep your eye on that.
Yeah, Stefan Ruhl is not going to thank him, that's for sure.
No, even though Jake seems to be on
Crop
Stefan's
pits.
side, apparently. Okay,
Interesting.
and Shimon Frelich in as well. Okay, I think this has really helped out Moritz Kropp in all of this. I think he's, well, I guess that I'm speaking very prematurely here. I'm speaking as if it's going to continue to go this way. But as we see a yellow flag out there somewhere, but Moritz Kropp had gained a number of positions to get up to that 5th
Oh, look
position.
how much Stevens is struggling.
Yeah,
Has
Jeffrey
to
Fournier
keep
in
on
the
the
pits
road.
now.
So
And
Kropp
you
could
can
actually
see-
pull the blinder here. He's only 13 seconds down. So if the leaders all pit, all of a sudden, Moritz Kropp and Simon Frelich could be disputing the lead of this race.
And that's why I was saying, if it keeps going this way, then Moritz Kropp has absolutely gained out of all of this. Jeffrey Fournier and Jakob Ekalalu both in the pits as well. It does seem to be turning, because you can see Tom Stevens is struggling out there. And just a lap ago, we were talking about it drying out again. GPVWC today is being so unpredictable. The gods of the sky are being unpredictable. And, well, and into the
he's
pits
made
comes
it.
Tom Stevens. He is coming in. So Stevens pits. What do the likes of Jarl Tyen do? What does Jan Grankvist do? They both come in as well. Goodness me. Out of the pits goes... That's a car who's a lap down. That's Hygo Poom, I think. Loic Mounier
Mounier
goes
staying
through.
out.
Mounier leads the race. And is it going to be Kropp second?
Well, there we go. Mounier in the lead with just 11 laps to go, but he is on exactly the wrong tyres here. This is going to be so scary to watch as he just struggles to get the power down out of every single corner here. Tyen pit with Grankvist right behind him. I think Grankvist has got out first because THR had to double stack there. And Tyen is out on another set of Inters. I thought he'd gone onto the dries there. But yeah, Stevens, Grankvist, Tyen all now on the Inters. And they come out just ahead of Moritz Kropp by about 4 seconds. So that's absolutely crucial for them.
Oh my goodness, and I hate to think what would have happened if Stefan Roth had stayed out on those mediums, and I'm sure he would hate to think about that as well, but yes. Well...
Oh, and it
again-
stopped raining! Moinier's pulled a blinder here, surely, if it dries out now.
Yeah, so I'm surprised that Moritz Kropp didn't end up jumping Stevens, Grankvist and Tyen, but it won't end up mattering if the rain, well, if it stays dry. Loic Mounier may well have pulled a blinder, and at this point in time, it's literally impossible to tell. It's still very, very tricky to drive that car out there. You can see he's still sliding about. You can see that the Inters are still the best tyres to be on. And
We lost a second in the middle sector to Stevens as well. So he needs to dry out
exactly.
fast for Loic Moinier's sake. Stefan Ruhr as well has had to stay on the mediums, and he's in 7th. So a big chance for him as well to recover ground now that it's sort of the inverse scenario now, where it's dried out and some are still in it. There's a Schubert round the outside of Ruhr. There we go. So yeah, the dry's still not the tyres to be on at the present moment, and Schubert taking advantage of that.
Not yet, but you mentioned earlier the track temperature. It's actually decently warm today. 23 degrees ambient, 45 degrees track temperature. I know it's not absolutely baking hot. It's not a typical Mexican September day, but it will, I'm sure, dry out quicker than it would have done if it was just a few degrees colder. And I think by the end of the race, we'll definitely have a significant dry line. And I do think that while the Inters seem to be the better tyres to be on right now, there's no point going on to Inters. It's got to be dry tyre weather in just a couple of laps' time. Jeffrey Fournier pits.
We're so close to the end now. The Inters runners have sort of got no choice but to stay out as we see the Red Archer getting well out of the way of Jan Grankvist there. So Grankvist has got to try and catch Tom Stevens as quickly as possible, and they're lapping pretty much identical lap times at the moment. 140.4, 141.4 for Grankvist. So Grankvist is a second slower the previous lap. So Stevens and Grankvist has just got to hope that it rains harder or the conditions stay pretty much the same as this, because they are, look at the gap, 8.9 seconds to Loic Moynier, who's doing an absolutely stellar job up front here. Even with everything going against him, he has made the right call here, and luck is on his side at the moment for the championship leader. But Tom Stevens could yet steal it away from him.
Yeah, I mean, the likes of Stevens, Grankvist, Hyan, they're all lapping 3 seconds faster than Mounier. We're going to look at a replay now. There's a green stripes without its front wing, and that must be Hangraf, because Hoekstra there still has his wing and just runs wide to give way to some of the leading cars. But Stein Hangraf there, he's touring back to the pits as well, and now we're going to see a replay of what's happened to him. Now, he's on the intermediate tyres.
Hangraf wasn't, he was on the softs. He's just pit for Inters. There we go.
Well, we're watching Hoekstra. Okay, Hoekstra's had another impact. Oh dear. And I'm sure that Ross McIntyre will say he's just baiting the field and waiting to launch his surprise attack. But anyway, Stein Hangraf has unfortunately had a bit of a flub out there as well. And there it is. And that is
that's frustrating.
An
Such
undramatic
a
spin.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's very unlucky that did any damage at all, to be honest.
So then, just a handful of laps to go, 8 laps remaining. Moynier's lead, 5 seconds. Stevens is still taking chunks out of him, and this could be a case of damage limitation for Moynier. Can he keep Stevens behind? And if he can't, can he keep Grankvist and crucially Tyan as well behind? So I think Loic's instincts to stay out were absolutely correct there, because he had nothing to lose otherwise. If he had pit for the Inters, he would be 4th or 5th right now, wouldn't it? Look, it's still so twitchy on exit there, as it just cannot dry up quick enough. You are seeing the line emerge, but off it is like driving on ice, and Moynier is discovering that to his cost, whereas Stevens and Grankvist, they can just go hell for leather right now.
They're still nearly 3 seconds a lap faster than Mounier. Again, the fate of this race rests in the weather, because at the present, Stevens and Grankvist will catch Mounier by the end of the race. In fact, Mounier could drop to 5th or 6th at this rate. But the weather could just as easily start up again any minute, and it could just as easily dry out. Loic Mounier could still end up being on the tyres to choose from here, and Tom Stevens in 2nd position may end up losing out. Of course, it's too late in the race for any more pit stops. I'm sure that these drivers will finish the race on the tyres they're on, unless anything really dramatically changes, but at this point they may well just stick it out anyway, go for the full Lando Norris approach and just stay out at all costs. Here's Tom Stevens in 2nd position, and we're going to see the lap times.
He's cooling the tyres, look, pulling out to the right there.
He is, and that time around Stevens was once again 2.5 seconds quicker than Loic Mounier. If he does that again, he'll be on him by the end of the next lap.
Yeah, and I think in these conditions, DRS will still be disabled as well, unless they're feeling really risky in race control, I guess. But yeah, so Stevens will just have to make the move using the exit speed as... Oh, has it started dripping down again?
It has.
That has sealed Moynier's fate then, surely. It's going to take an absolute miracle for him to hold on to this one.
Well, it was an important risk to take, and to be honest, I would have done exactly the same thing in his shoes. He sniffed a chance of winning it, and I think the weather gods may take this one away from him. Tom Stevens is flying, catching up to Loic Mounier, and the fact that he was already doing this before the rain started to come down means that I think it's going to go his way now. You can see the dry line that's formed on the track, but even that's going to start to go away if the rain continues to fall. And Loic Mounier is being reeled in. I told you that Stevens would be on him by the end of the lap. Stevens is going to pass him, I expect, on the next lap, even without the aid of DRS. And I will say, it does tend to be in GPVWC that DRS is enabled really, really early when the track is still quite damp. But I really don't think that Stevens is going to need it here. And Mounier just has to focus on driving his own lines to make sure he doesn't slither right off the road edge.
Yeah, he was weaving a bit just to break the toe, and that's quite dangerous when it's so wet offline and continuing to get worse as well. So Moynier very much up against it. Let's see what the championship leader is made of here. But Tom Stevens, with the advantage, is going to be so much more confident on brakes and on corner exits with the intermediate tyres washing the water away. No such luxury for Moynier. He's just got to hold up Stevens for as long as possible. But can he do so? Here we go, up the inside into the S's comes Stevens, but he backs out. That's very wise there. He can afford to be patient. Still 3.5 seconds until Grankvist catches him.
Brave of Mounier to go into that corner at that speed at all, but yeah, Stefan Rot has now made his pit stop. He very much needed to. Stevens once again takes a look. I think he's trying to unsettle Mounier, but to be honest, he knows that Mounier is going to go offline soon anyway. It's just inevitable. And there's one such instance coming through the arena section. Out of the final turn there, Stevens is going to get underneath him, and there is absolutely nothing that Loic Mounier can do there. One thing he might be able to do is slipstream him back down the straight. That is a possibility here, but Stevens has got so much better a run down the straight that I think the lead is in his grasp now. Tom Stevens leads the race. He's lost a few seconds to Grankvist and all of that, but I don't think he will be looking back. Instead, he will be looking forwards at a completely empty track as the THR driver leads the race.
Yeah, ironically, the two-stop actually really worked with the timing of the rain when it did for THR, because they could just afford to wait for the shower to get really heavy before making that decision, whereas some of the others were sort of forced into a bit more of a corner. And as we see, Moynier has lost as he has to go very, very wide at the exit, the hairpin. Up the inside comes Grankvist into the S's, and this time Moynier's got no chance of holding on around the outside. And Yaltine is 6 seconds behind, but Moynier is surely going to fall off the podium here because he's been caught hand over fist. And Grankvist still hasn't given up on catching Stevens. He has gained as a result. This is now Rot picks off Sandeep Singh for 9th here. Singh is another one to have gained out of these weight conditions, whereas Rot has really been unlucky with the timing, hasn't he? He's been on and off the inters. He was the first to switch to them, and he's going to wish he'd stuck with them because he could have been right with the lead pack if he had.
Stefan Rot up into 9th position. It's pretty clear that he's going to get a top 10 whatever happens, but the weather has certainly not favoured him today. Yaltine P4, and he's got Loic Mounier in his sights. I think Mounier is, well, he's still dreaming of that podium, but even though the sun has now come back out, the rain has stopped, I still think it would be a big ask for Loic to hold on to this one as the track is still fairly damp. And Yaltine is gaining. Once again, you see the number of positions that the THR drivers have gained. 9 places in the case of Stevens, 8 in the case of Tyan. He's about to make that 9 as well. He goes up the inside of Loic Mounier and takes another place away from the championship leader, and as such takes points out of the championship leader and gets close to that all-important Drivers' Championship crown.
There we go. That will be 16 points going the way of Tyan, 13 going the way of Moynier, so the lead will be cut from 6 to just 3 points then. So that is fascinating going to the final 3 rounds. It could really be anybody's game, especially with Grankvist finishing ahead of both of them. But unfortunately for him, Stevens has started to pull away again in these last couple of laps.
And if it continues this way for Loic Mounier, could we see a new championship leader today? It is entirely possible.
Yeah, Krop is right behind him now too, to the tune of 9/10 of a second. You can see is that Jeffrey Fournier unlapping himself as well. He's another guy that's lost out with the rain, having to switch onto the inters and onto the dries at the wrong moment. Then Moynier tucks in behind, but now he's very much at the mercy of Moritz Krop. He's looking for his first top 4 in a long, long time. He's finished in the top 4 before in a couple of past seasons with that team when it was in its previous guise as a Nocturne, of course, but not since they became Fraser Tartan, of course. He took that brilliant pole at Indianapolis before colliding with Moynier, and now it's Moynier that he's got to clear to take what would be his best result this season. And let's be fair, Moritz Krop has actually put together a very superb drive.
And this would easily be the highest point scoring finish for FTR Racing in their current iteration. It would be just their second double top 10 finish, and their previous best result is a 7th place finish, a couple of 7th place finishes I think. So to get a 5th place finish or even a 4th place finish would massively top that. And we're on board with Moritz Krop now as we head into the greasy, slippery arena section, and you can see Meunier running wide. That's what he did before when Grangfist had that rather late lunge at him. And this time Moritz Krop not quite able to capitalise, but I'm sure he will on the exit here. As you see, wow, squirming around is Loic Meunier. You can see how desperate he is to get the power down, but it's not going to matter as Moritz Krop is going to come through on the straight. And there he goes, the Fraser Tartan racing car running as high up as 4th position, something we just have not seen at this stage of a race in this season of GPWC racing. Krop is 4th, Meunier down to 5th, and Szymon Frelick is still gaining fast enough to catch him by the end of this race as well.
If Meunier had pit though, let's be honest, he would have dropped to 6th, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So still by staying out, he's got 2 seconds to Frelick with just a handful of laps to go. It's going to be difficult to keep him behind, but you still got to think with the being as unpredictable as it was still worth taking the gamble, even though it's not worked out. And you see his teammate Markinev did the same thing and has fallen. Oh, as Meunier's now just really struggling to keep it in a straight line. And I imagine it's the same for Markinev, Shepard and Handgraf.
Yeah, and it's because the rain started up yet again for about the 5th time this race. And I think, to be honest, the only way that Meunier staying out would have been a really bad idea is if he, and good luck forbid it, but if he does end up bidding the car, which he nearly did there, into the arena section, because to be honest, he would have been 6th either way, and now he's
still
just
12 seconds to Schubert in 7th, so he's got to stay out here.
He's just got to make sure that he finishes this race at this point, but yeah, he's going to be losing loads of places, and he'll... Well, I don't even want to think about what could happen here. I just want him to get to the flag. This is not how we would want to see the championship lead change hands. Of course, Grangfist, let's not forget, is still very much in this, especially finishing 2nd today. Tom Stevens, who's at the front, is unlucky to be as far back in the championship standings as he is, but I'm expecting another win or two for Tom before the end of the year. He's just that sort of driver. You were describing him earlier, Ed, as the nearly man of GPWC. I think he's a little bit of a Lando Norris figure himself. And I think if Tom Stevens comes away from this championship in 2nd position, then he will very much agree with what I'm saying. Sven Schubert here in P7 is catching very quickly on Loic Meunier. He's only got 1 more lap after this one to do it in.
It's about 4 seconds per lap quicker at the moment, but yeah, he is running out of laps as Chris Shepard has dropped it somewhere, and that's allowed Handgraf into P16, but that's agonizingly 64 seconds away from the final points paying position, so no more P15 heroics for Handgraf unless something extraordinary happens here. But yeah, quite a lot of drama has happened in this race with Sandeep Singh in P10, Lucas Murno in P8. They're the 2 big gainers, you have to say, but THR have pulled the blinder here. Grangfist is keeping Stevens honest here, but I think he's running out of laps. And Meunier, if he can keep it on the island here, I think P6 would be 10 points going his way, but it would be 16 points at time, so that'd be a 6-point gain. They would be dead level in the lead of the championship at the end of this.
Final lap now. Stevens leads from Grangfist. Further back, Hygo Poom just passed Jorge Marquinez, who lost a few seconds that last lap. Marquinez still struggling on those soft tyres, on those slick tyres, I should say. And again, we'll do well to get it just to the end of this race. Props to everyone who's finished this one. Whoa, that was a big twitch from Jack Grangfist. Just to illustrate my point that this has been a tough one to weather. And
nice
no
pun
pun intended with that one. Yeah. So through the arena section for the final time, it's going to be a close finish. I think it's going to come down to just under a second at the end of this one as Stevens gets held up by Jorge Marquinez out of the final corner. But Stevens, once again, has somehow pulled something out of nothing. He was about 10th on the grid, and Tom Stevens has won the Mexican Grand Prix. Jan Grangfist is 2nd. Jarl Tyen makes it a double THR podium in 3rd position. Moritz Krop gets THR's best result of the season, FTR's best result of the season in 4th place. Szymon Frelick is 5th. Loic Meunier, well, let's watch him and see if he actually finishes this one, because that's a major achievement in and of itself. Loic
Yeah,
Meunier
Schubert.
crosses the line in 6th position. Sven Schubert is 7th. What a drive from him as well. And Lucas Murno. Let's watch this as Stacks celebrate. Lucas Murno gets a top 10 finish for a team who hadn't even had a top 15 yet this year coming into today. You know what? I'm going to say it. Lucas Murno is my driver of the day. Stefan
And those
Roll
8 points.
across the line in 9th position. Sandeep Singh is 10th. And then it's Jakub Ekalalu, Xavi Rose, Hygo Poom, Jorge Martinez, and Jeffrey Fournier, the other drivers in the points-paying positions. Also finishing, but not scoring points, were Stein Hangraf, Chris Shepherd, and Wopke Hoekstra. And then you had a massive grid of DNFs for various reasons. But Ed Hunter, what a drive there for Tom Stevens. Week in, week out, it seems like there is something that is absolutely inevitable in this series, and that's that THR will come out on top.
Yep, there we go. So is that the 3rd double podium, I think, for THR after they finished 1-2, both Saudi Arabia and Hungary, or 1-3 this time as there we go. Tom Stevens just slots in the middle as Jan Grankvist tries to readjust his parking space and taps the number 2 board. I bet he wants to do a Sebastian Vettel and swap it with Tom, but no such joy there. One more thing, without wishing to take away superb performances from all of our top 6 really in that race, and Stefan Barrot as well, who's a bit unlucky. For Murno, those 8 points for him in the stacks, that puts them ahead of Green Stripes in the battle for the wooden spoon position effectively, because Green Stripes had 4 points. Those 8 points means they've got double the score. So just one great performance can make all the difference.
And that, of course, is the 3rd time that Lucas Murno, it's only his 3rd Super League Grand Prix. So what a drive from him there. I'm sure we have plenty more to come from the Super Lights race winner. But yes, Tom Stevens wins the race as demonstrated by that beautiful image of the top 3 parked up exactly where they should be. Jan Grankvist is 2nd, then it's Jarl Tyen, Moritz Kropp, who you can see just parked at the back there trying to get in on the action. Then it's Shimon Frelich, Loic Meunier, Sven Schubert, Lucas Murno there in the Stacks racing car, who helps his team to beat the Green Stripes team, to jump ahead of them in the championship. Then it's the unfortunate Stefan Roll, who drove a fantastic race but got caught out by the weather. Then Sandeep Singh, a top 10 finish on his return to Super League for the first time this year. Then if we go to the second slate, you can see Jakub Ekalalu, Xavi Rose, Hygo Poom, Jorge Martinez, Jeffrey Fournier, and Stein Hangraf. You can see, of course, Fournier being the last points finisher, and then Hangraf, Shepherd, and Hoekstra missing out, followed by a bunch of DNFs. Carlos Martin and Tomasz Vok both disconnected at pretty much exactly the same time. Robin Merlin, we didn't really see what happened to him. Pascal Pollens had a huge crash, and Dylan Fisher, Mark Schluter, Robin Panzer, Sergio Fletcher, Riot Kilk, Alex Laho, Matthew Winnick, and Alessandro Maggio all retired for their own various reasons. So that's the order, and that's the lot, and we can now bring in our first interviewee for the day. The first driver to be ready and waiting is our 2nd place finisher, Jan Grankvist. Jan, hello.
Hello.
Hello indeed. So that was a treacherous race, I tell you. Weather, we had racing side by side, we had traffic both on the same lap as you and not. Have you had much more of a tricky podium than that?
Yeah, it was. I don't know, honestly. In some ways, the rain did help us out, and there was a lot of luck involved. But then, on the other hand, there was also quite a bit of bad luck, or at least what seemed to feel like bad luck. So, like, at first, it looked like out of dry runners, like if the race would have stayed dry, it looked like the likes of the Spark TOP guys would have likely been there or thereabouts for the win, I think. Or maybe I'm overestimating the pace that they could have had on the same strategy as me, because it looked like they were a bit slow, and ultimately it was then going to be a competition between THR. But I knew that if I was going to be ahead of both, I think it was Loic and Stefan, if I was going to be ahead of them, I could have outpaced them by quite a bit, and it would have been a much more certain win. But then the rain kicked out and made things very messy, and at first it felt really unlucky, it was really unbelievable. Like, the second that I entered the pit lane, that was the exact moment the track conditions changed from like really light rain to then like significant rain that was going to be like inters within like 3-4 laps. So at first that felt like, oh, that was a catastrophe, and I've now lost the race with THR for going for a new set of hards. But yeah, it doesn't always end up the way it looks.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, and I think you demonstrated that very well in this race. You ended up really quite close to the back of Tom Stevens towards the end of that one. Do you think he was just taking it easy towards the end, or do you think you really genuinely had a chance to get him?
Genuinely, the pace today has seemed so strong that, I mean, on the other hand, I think all of us at the top, like, there's no such thing as fully safe. We have our own designated rhythm and we follow that. Like, if you start taking it safe, you risk dropping out the rhythm and, you know, making even more mistakes than normal. So I think Tom was giving it his all, but who knows, maybe he could have been just conserving a bit as well. But yeah, it was fun at least giving it a fair attempt at a win at that point. But yeah, I was just short by a second.
So Jan, in terms of the race, it was a chaotic one, but there's also been some stuff going on away from the track. What did you make of the news that came out earlier that Jarl had been effectively re-gifted a victory and that he was now ahead of you in the championship?
I mean, I didn't even attend the race that the supposed incident happened, and to be honest, I never had time, or I never even bothered to then rewatch the race, so I don't even really know what the incident's about. But
all those hours editing highlights wasted.
Hey, I'll give it a watch later, like right after this, to be fair. But so I can get like a clear picture of what's actually gone on. But yeah, no, I don't really know much about it. But I mean, it brings one extra player for the championship. So I mean, for people who are looking forward for the championship fight, that's a positive.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I'm sure that you won't necessarily be thinking too much about how exciting the championship is for us. Anyway, you still have a very good shot at it, and you helped yourself out quite a lot today. I'm going to hand over to our regular interviewer, Ed Hunter, but yeah, congratulations on another podium, and of course a fantastic pole position. We didn't even touch on, but that was a great lap. Ed, do you have anything to add for Jan?
No, yeah. So obviously, that you said great pole lap to beat both TOPs when everybody and their mum seemed to be predicting a TOP front row lockout, and you seem to think differently, as you tend to do, Jan. And then at the start of that race, obviously the battle between you, Stefan, Loic, and who else was in that? It was Simon, wasn't it? It was quite entertaining, and it did seem that in that second stint, you decided to basically run a bit longer with Stefan, whereas Loic and Simon, was it Simon? And then it was Loic and Stefan that decided to pit first. Did you think that was the right call? You'd have to fresh your tyres and you'd be able to get back within the DRS window? Or were you worried at that point about being stuck behind?
I mean, it's easy to look back at it in hindsight, but I think it was genuinely a solid strategy. Had the race just continued dry for us, I had a clear picture for victory at that point, as soon as like I was behind Stefan and Loic by the stint before the rain happened. So yeah, at that point I was really confident about the win. So I think the strategy went fairly well from my point of view. But I think what even helped more is that just genuinely out of nowhere, it seemed like I just had way more pace, not only in qualifying but in the race, which I was very surprised about, because what I've been hearing is that the TOP cars have been focusing a lot more on race pace rather than qualifying, which would make sense after the pole position I had. So I wasn't too like ecstatic about the pole position at first, because I knew that, or I thought that the TOP cars would have been much quicker in the race, but it turned out to be false.
Well, the good news in terms of the team's championship, obviously, I know you're frustrated to lose that second place to TOP, but you and Lalu, Jakubeka finishing P11 today means you're 4 points behind TOP going into the final 3 races. And in the drivers, Loic and Jarl are equal on 177 points each, and you are 12 points back on 165. So, as Caitlin alluded to, it's surely a freeway fight to the finish in these final 3 races then. Singapore coming up next. Scene of some happy memories in terms of clinching the title last season, even if the race result wasn't exactly the one that you would hope for. But let's banish that from our memory, because Canada as well, your last win, your last podium before today, was also a race that you didn't do particularly well last season, and then you absolutely rectified it this time around. So there's every chance that things could change. Obviously, Singapore, difficult track to overtake, but there's like we saw THR today, there's always that temptation to run long, isn't there? Are you confident Singapore can be another happy hunting ground?
We've learned a lot since the last time we went to Singapore, so hopefully we're going to be able to correct what went wrong last season, and more importantly, I hope Jarl, as now a championship contender, will at least be a bit more careful going into the side-by-side battles we might have.
I think he's technically the leader because he's got 2 more wins than Loic.
Oh,
controversially, Loic will say one of them should have been his, but nevertheless, we'll hear what he has to say, I'm sure, in the fullness of time. But anyway, Jan, I'm sort of running out of questions here, but it's great to see you back on the podium, back to your best, because I know last couple Hungary, you weren't at your best in terms of you were a bit under the weather, and then Monza, the strategy sort of went against you, but you were the leader of those on the 2 stops. So it's great to see finally that you're back on the podium, back in the top 2 where you belong, although I'm sure this is not the last time we've seen you winning this season, that's for sure. And is there anything you wanted to shout out before we let you go, Jan?
Just a big shout out to the group that's been working with me so far. It's been a bit on and off, of course, the few times that I've been away, and less work has been done in general, but we managed to pull off a really good setup from Mexico, and I'm quite happy for that in our group. I mean, even though not all of us, well, most of us didn't even finish that well, but it's at least I managed to show that there's a ray of hope, I guess.
As long as there's Grankfist, there's always hope, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So lovely talking to you again, Jan, and lovely to see your work on track again. Always, that pole lap was brilliant. It was a very, very strong race, and I'm sure that title fight's going to go right down to the wire. And I'm very excited to see which of you 3 ends up coming out on top, or if Simon gets his act together and beats everyone somehow. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know.
We'll see. Anyway, thanks, Ed and Caitlin, once more.
Cheers. So as we let Jan Grankfist get back to the Super Venturi garage to prepare for Singapore, let's drag in the THR team of Tom Stevens, Jarl Tyen, and team principal Toby Davis. We are now joined by the THR team after another double podium, and this time it's Tom Stevens that climbs aboard the top step. It's Jarl Tyen that ties Loic Moynier for the lead of the Drivers' Championship, and Toby Davis, undoubtedly another happy man. But let's talk to our race winner, Tom, first, because you started 10th on the grid. I noticed early on you were making great progress up through the order, and in the end, the 2-stop strategy, whether it was dry or wet, in fact, with the rain, it arguably played into your favor, because drivers like Jan and Simon were pitting just before the rain got really heavy, whereas you had those extra laps to make up your mind, essentially, while you stayed out there. And in the end, obviously, having to double stack the cars really opened the door for Jan to get into P2, so I know there's some frustration there. But nonetheless, Tom, you held on brilliantly in that final stint, and it was an incredibly strong race after some horrible bad luck in Monza. You again get your 3rd win of the season, and it's much deserved. Well done.
Oh, blimey, that was a long one, can't lie. That race felt like it was going on forever.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks, Ed. Oh my god, well, yeah, the start of the race, I think started about 10th position. The key early on was just keeping it clean on the first lap and not doing any half moves like in previous races. So thankfully that didn't happen today. And then just let the tyres come into our window. And then we knew we were doing the two-stop quite early on. And we weren't sure what the others were doing, but we paced ourselves. We found ourselves together on track, and then we just kind of tried to let it work. But the rain, in the end, initially, I was getting a bit annoyed by this rain, and it was a bit confusing and frustrating. But fortunately, it actually played into my hands very well in the end. And sort of say huge thanks to everyone in the team for this round. Mega effort on the setup. I wasn't able to really put as many laps in as I would have liked for this one to help the team. So thanks for Jarl, Moritz, Toby, Sven, just everyone, Luke, back at THR, FTR, for delivering such an awesome car. And yeah, it was a really good result today. Happy with that one.
Absolutely. And in terms of the championship, I think you are up to fourth now, just 6 points ahead of Simon Frelick and about 17 behind Grankfist, who, as I say, is about 12 behind Tyne Moynier. So you're about 29 points off the overall lead, Tom. So you're even with all the misfortune you've had this season, and a lot of it undeserved, has just been wrong place, wrong time, essentially. You're still just in the mix here, which is great to see. And more importantly, as you keep saying and insisting, and we believe you, the team's championship, you're on 325 points, with your next closest challenger, TP, on 233 points. So that is just under 90 points then, I think. Is it? That would be 92, I think, ahead with, let's see, 45, 90, what's 90 plus 45? 135 left then. So there's a great chance Singapore or Brazil, you guys could wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with today's points all, and obviously that's meant we're going to have a bit of a buffer in the teams now, so that's really good. But drivers-wise, I've not really been thinking about it, and I know it's still a huge gap, but had I not had that misfortune in these last couple of races, I'd be right on the money. So I'm going to be pushing as strong as ever, and let's see what happens.
Absolutely. We're really excited to see it, Tom. But I said in commentary that the last couple of seasons you've been the nearly man. Well, today was definitely your day. And yeah, we've consistently seen some great performances this season. And I think Hungary stands out. Where was the other one? Spain as well was another brilliant drive as well. And yeah, can't wait to see what you got lined up for us in these final 3 races. You excited for Singapore, Tom?
Not really, to be honest. No. That Singapore, I've never really had the best of best moments or results there. I've had a few good results there, but it's a track that I don't really gel too well with. So, gonna definitely have to work harder for that one. But yeah, it'll still be good.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Tom, on your 3rd win of the season, and for putting THR into a very strong position in the team's championship. And we never quite know what could happen in the drivers. But anyway, a fabulous drive, wet or not dry. It seemed like you had things very much under control. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So moving on then to Tom's teammate, Jarl Tyne, who takes yet another podium. Jarl, it's been an interesting week for you. 2 weeks, I should say, because in the space of just 2 weeks, you've won at Monza. You've been given the win at Spa. Some would say a very unusual circumstance, I think it's fair to say. And then you've gotten a 3rd place on top of that as well, despite qualifying a 12th on the grid. It was an interesting race. I noticed at that 2nd stop, I think it was, that you got to pit a lap before Tom. Obviously, in the end, it became a bit academic with the rain falling down. That sort of cost you because you and Tom had to double stack, and that opened the door for Jan Grankvist to split in between you two. But despite, I know, mixed emotions today, you've also gained a lot of ground, and you're now technically, I think, leading the Drivers' Championship. So a huge turnaround in a short space of time then, with 3 rounds to go. The emotions must be all over the place, Jarl, I imagine.
Yeah, no, I'm actually fairly calm. I feel relaxed. It's the pressure's on Loic, in my opinion. Obviously now I just took the lead, but I feel like the pressure is on Loic to perform as he has a car that should potentially beat me by quite a bit every race. And we usually always struggle in qualifying, right? And we have to overcome a massive deficit at the start of the race, traffic and everything. So I feel like the pressure's on Loic to kind of seal the deal. But yeah, we once again, like usual, pretty much maximize what we can do every race. And yeah, you could say fortune with the rain, unfortunate with the rain. With no rain, we're going to finish exactly in the same 3 positions as I think Jan would have caught us, but I don't think anybody else would have caught us. So the positions would have been exactly the same. Tom winning, Jan second, me third. So the result ended up being exactly the same as I personally expected. But yeah, I'm very happy with P3 because yeah, like in the past, the car performances are usually never mentioned. But I think that's very important to mention, as you know, there are some pretty huge gaps in the car performances, and yeah, it's very difficult to try to overcome that. And Tom just won with a relatively slow car relative to others on the grid. So I think huge props to Tom for sealing the deal. And yeah, it'll be an uphill battle the rest of the season, even though I took the lead. But yeah, it will be fun anyway.
Yeah, it could not really be much closer between you and Loic, and we got Jan only 12 points behind as well. Just final question from me: how did you feel when you saw that Loic had stayed out on dries at the end?
Initially, I thought all he is thinking. He wasn't thinking about the win, or it was an off chance win, but all he was thinking about is the gap to me. And at the time, the gap was 19 seconds, and I was only catching 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap when the initial rain hit, and then it stopped. So it looked like he played a master stroke to beat just me, because that's all he needs to do, right? But yeah, then the rain started again and stopped again and started again, and yeah, it was very unstable at that point. And I think what really hurt me was obviously double stacking, because the rain really hit right as we went past the pit lane, so we were forced to do 1 extra lap, and then we were forced to double stack. If I go 1 more lap, I would have lost more than what the double stack would have been. So yeah, very happy to see Loic struggle there at the end. It was obviously it's terrible for him. I know the feeling. I've been in those situations before, but yeah, it's those kinds of races where you need to not make mistakes. And obviously I still think he finished in P6, so obviously
You did, yeah.
it wasn't the worst of the worst, but definitely he could have had some more points there.
Yeah, but easy to say in hindsight when you know exactly what the weather was going to do in the end. But y'all, Singapore up next. A happy underground for you, obviously, given I think you won there last season, if memory serves correctly.
No, I did not. I was.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Adam
Before
McGuire.
I smashed into Jan. So Jan
That was
and
good.
me have some memories from last year. No, Singapore is definitely a good track for me, and the way we do our setup preparations, it should also suit us very, very much. But the only downside with Singapore is qualifying matters a lot, and our qualifying performance this year is roughly the same to P1, P2. You know, the gap to the lead. But the problem is there's more cars in between us, so we have to overcome an already qualifying deficit as well as the car performance on top of that. So we'll try our best, but overall it's a track that I like.
Well, you've certainly improvised, adapted, and overcome many times this season, and really these last couple of races you've really been absolutely on fire, and obviously with a bit of struggle. I don't want to say struggle like, but the obviously the points that you lost in Spa were reinstated from your point of view. So that has really completely transformed your picture in the championship. So it's going to be very close, very exciting. As a commentator, we've got nothing to complain about, but it's going to be really, really interesting. So thanks for talking to us, y'all, and yeah, best of luck in your title challenge for these final 3 races.
Thanks again, Ed. Thank you.
Finally, let's talk to the big man himself, Toby Davis. Toby, another win. I think technically now, retroactively, that's 4 in a row now for THR. with your two drivers getting a 2 apiece, I believe. And this one was another one where basically staying out and doing one stop less than everybody else played into your hands with the timing of the rain, I think, as I said to Tom at the beginning.
Yeah, we were always going to 2-stop here, regardless of weather conditions. And I think everyone else thought the 3-stop was quicker. And they just kind of highlights how much more improved our race setup has been, especially in the last few rounds, that we're able to be more kind on tyres and so on. And I think everyone's like kind of deviating towards a qualifying setup quite often. So yeah, we've definitely found some things that have massively helped us, and I think we're all on it as well. You know, not just THR but FTR as well. You could see 4th and 7th for those guys today. So yeah, it was to be honest with you, it could have been even better than that. So Jarl could easily have had a 1-2, you know, with Tom today again. Same as at Hungary, so same as at Saudi. So yeah, it's looking good. Especially the teams championship. I think we're 92 points ahead. If my maths is correct. So yeah,
Sounds
I think
about right.
Yeah, so I think we've won the teams championship the last 2 seasons in a row. So it's all about getting the drivers' title this season. And as Jarl says, I think you know the fact that he's
the focus has shifted since our last.
Yeah, I think the fact that Jarl is consistently outscoring his rivals, especially, you know, he's outscored like in the last 4 rounds on the bounce now. So there's no reason that can't continue, and it's obviously on now. The pressure is on Loic to raise his game from that point of view. So I'm the most it's the most exciting season from our point of view, drivers wise. As you say, Tom has never quite been able to put a full title run together. It's just mostly just bad luck, to be honest with you. So yeah, he will be there to help, and if he can pick up points along the way and other people fall off, then no worries, they're still going to be free to race and all the rest of it. So but yeah, it was a difficult one to engineer, to be honest with you, Ed. It's so difficult to get those decisions right, and yeah, Jarl could potentially have had P2 today if we didn't have to double stack, but it was the right call on that lap. It just got so much wetter. So you win some, you lose some in gambles like that. Mounier lost the gamble today, and we obviously won the gamble. So you can see what happened
as well. Stefan.
Yeah, Roa lost the gamble. I feel sorry for him as well. And those that disconnected, I think it's the worst thing to happen, is just a random disconnection. So really sorry to those guys who disconnected, because it's just not fair, is it? If someone disconnects from a race, it's not a fair fight, you know. So I think Martin and Vac potentially were too. So sorry to those guys for that.
Maciej Milnek as well, and Maggio.
Yeah, Milnek as well. Yeah. And Maggio, to be fair, disconnects every round. So
yeah, poor guys are like. It's almost like beating a dead horse at the moment. I've got to feel for that.
Yeah, it's savage. It really is savage, because he can't do anything. You know, it feels like he can't do anything about it. He had a run of 5 or 6 races where he could finish, but just hasn't worked for him in recent races. So I feel sorry for Maggio.
Yeah, certainly. But hopefully Alessandro can at least end things on a high. And indeed, obviously it's been an interesting week. My final question really is about the Spa. What's the term I'm looking for? Sort of penalty repealment. The appeal being upheld, essentially. So obviously took a while to come through, and I think you'd just sort of been operating on a wait and see policy for a while and hoping that it would come out, but not relying on it. And obviously, it's absolutely gone your way. And obviously, Loic a little bit frustrated about it. I'm not sure if that. It didn't seem to play into how he approached the race, because he was doing a great job, and then, as you say, the call at the end, he gambled, and the weather didn't quite play in his favour, so it wasn't he binned it on his own.
These things are out of your control, right? I mean, Mounier, it being grumpy about a penalty he wasn't involved in, is up to him, isn't it? If he's going to have a head loss because Frelick protested Jarl, that's up to him. But at the end of the day, these things happen, and it's how you deal with them mentally, isn't it, and how you move on. And if you want to sit there and whinge about it, then no worries, but we'd rather win on track and do well on track, and that's what we're going to continue doing for the rest of the season, I think.
To be fair, I don't think Loic is whining about that much. It's me as the president of the Loic Mournier fan club that's whinging, I think.
Right.
But yeah, I'll leave you alone because
No, it's okay. No, I mean, feel free to have a look at the incident and see what you think. I mean, it's just one of those that that I think if we're being realistic, it's never a penalty. So
yeah,
I think
we all knew it was a bit harsh at the time, and I think
a 30-second penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit being 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Too harsh. Well,
That's my THR
25
hat.
seconds too harsh.
That's my THR hat on. So with my THR hat on, I think it's the right decision's been reached. But there we go. Anyway, less said about that. We need to look forwards, not backwards.
Exactly, yeah. So 3 races to go, 4 wins in a row. It really is quite the turnaround from the start of the season, isn't it? And it could be a really exciting run in. And difficult to really predict which of the top 3 is going to come out on top, or indeed if Tom can maybe still start a winning streak of his own.
Yeah, final word on that. I think it's Jarl has put so much hard work in, and all the guys have followed suit for this round and the last couple of rounds, and it's really paying dividends. So thank you to everyone back at the team and our sister team, FTR, and obviously the teams in Super Lights as well. Lunark and Kings have been helping out, so it's a real family atmosphere right now, and I'm really pleased to say that that I'm part of what I consider the best group of people that I've ever worked with in sim racing. So I'm very lucky.
Quite literally a family affair at King's team, isn't it? Because it's Scott Mitchell, Mom, and his brother Luke. Anyway, great talking to you, Toby. Congrats again on another strong performance in very tricky circumstances. I don't think anybody, even Caitlin, got a bit caught out by the rain there. I sort of knew there was a thunderstorm threat, but I didn't think we'd get it that soon. So yeah, even I got a little surprised, but yeah, you guys made exactly the right calls today, and deservedly both on the podium once again. So that team's championship's getting closer, and best of luck in the drivers as well.
Thank you, Ed. Cheers, mate.
So with THR finally sorted, let's drag in our 2 Fraser Tartan drivers. I apologise to Lucas Murno because he got bored of waiting to be talked to while I talked to the winners. So let's drag in Moritz Kropp and Sven Schubert. So we're now joined by both Moritz Kropp and Sven Schubert from the Fraser Tartan Racing team on a very strong day. Moritz Kropp P4, Sven Schubert P7, matching his result last time out at Monza and adding yet again to his tally. So let's start with Moritz, of course.
Yes.
Wow. It's interesting because you qualify P5.
Yeah.
You were sort of staying out a little bit longer in the first stint, if memory serves, and then you switched to the strategy of the THR drivers, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
No, you were on that strategy to start with, sorry, and then you decided to kind of converge with the strategy of the other front runners, essentially. So like Grankvist, Frelick, Moynier, and Roll. And so you were sort of in between and keeping them very, very honest. And then the rain falls, and after 7 laps, that final stint, and it absolutely plays into your hands, because while those around them fret and diver, you're able to pick off Frelick, pick off Moynier and Roll, and your reward is just off the podium in P4. So obviously a bit of frustration. If something had gone wrong for Grankvist, for instance, there would have been a P3 there. But nonetheless, a really, really strong drive, Moritz, when you've had a fair bit of bad luck. I think back to Indianapolis and that brilliant pole lap that unfortunately came to nothing. And then those final couple of laps where you were catching up to Loic on the dry tyres and thinking, oh God, I hope it doesn't hit Loic again. And you absolutely just made mincemeat of him, didn't do anything silly. And yeah, it's just a really, really strong day.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, in the beginning I wanted to do the 2-stop like Tom and Jarl did. And we practiced that and all that kind of stuff, but in the race for some reason the pace was a bit quicker than I expected. So then I don't know, the tires just wore a bit more, so I had to switch to a 3-stop then. Probably if I knew that the rain was gonna come and we were all gonna switch to the inters, probably would have stayed out on these hards in the second stint. Because first stint, sorry. Just because I probably would have gotten myself ahead of Jan there. But yeah, anyway. I mean, the fresh tires helped when...
If you'd been ahead of Jan, you would have been right with Tom, so fighting for the win. So that's quite a thing to say.
Well, I was with Tom almost all race long, right?
Yeah, he passed you in that second stint, didn't he? After the first pit stops.
Yeah, but you know, it was just more intelligent to do that because Tom's pace was a bit better at that point. And like I said, I was just struggling with the tires a bit more. So we decided to swap. I'm gonna sit in the DRS for a bit, you know, and yeah, let them see what's gonna happen. Yeah, I lost some time unfortunately then, which yeah, I had to let Jarl pass then because I almost got another track out. On lap 2, I cut just slightly. I just went slightly on the curb. We want the white line in the S section, and it gave me 2.25 points for that. So
Ooh.
I had to, yeah, I only had like what 2.75 points left for the whole race. I was a bit short on cuts, so whenever I cut, I had to lift quite a bit.
Yeah, I
And,
think we all
yeah.
learned from Alex Laho, who got a drive-through penalty for corner cutting early in the race, and then decided just to quit rather than serve the penalty.
Oh yeah, what I appreciated though was that he when he decided to quit, he decided to yeah, just hold us up for 2 more corners and then quit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intended.
He's very
or not.
considerate like that. He's very thoughtful of the feelings of others.
Oh yeah, yeah, I appreciated that. I was very happy, as you can imagine.
Well, I mean, the result sort of washes that out of the way, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it was good.
Do you guys want to know the good news for Fraser Tartan? Going into this race, you were, I think, equal 11th in the championship with AKA Hero.
Yeah, we're
Exactly the same
9th
number.
now, right?
Yeah, you are 10th, 3 points off Epic Racing in 9th. So you're on 71 points. You've overtaken both Edge and AKA Hero. So your strongest result of the season as a team. And it's come at exactly the right time. And for you, Moritz, obviously you finished, I think, 4th a couple of times before in Super League.
Yeah.
This feels like a return for you that was long in the coming, and a really crucial result for you.
For a few moments, I thought I was in for a podium here, but yeah, the realization came that it's not possible. But P4 was more than enough. Obviously, you know, like making the mistake of staying out on the dries has helped that. Yeah, I mean, a P4 was literally overdue. You know, I had so many good races. The first one in Jeddah, where I was in for a podium and crashed on my own. Then Spain, where I didn't practice the wet, and then finished P10. Then you had Indy, where I got taken out on lap 1 after qualifying on pole. Nürburgring, I had a disconnect, you know. It just goes on and on like this. So I'm really happy to finally score.
Yeah, certainly you're not the only driver that's had some bad luck this season, but yeah, you've certainly had more than your fair share, I think it's fair to say. So this is a very much a feel-good story. And yeah, thanks for talking to us, Moritz. Well done on a brilliant drive, and best of luck for, I think, Singapore's coming up next. And that was another track that you were doing, I think, pretty well there last season before you got disconnected. But we'll forget about that.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah, so let's go on the flip side then and switch over to Sven, who's been waiting patiently to talk to us. Sven, your 3rd P7 of the season and your 4th top 8 finish of the season. You've had 2 P7s in a row now at 2 quite fast tracks. And obviously today there was a little bit of frustration because you were catching Loic right at the end. And in the end you fell, I think, just 2 seconds short over the finish line. But you were catching him at like 4 seconds a lap towards the end. Is there a sense of frustration, or do you feel having started 14th on the grid to finish P7 is still an amazing result?
Yeah, of course it would have been nice to finish P6, but I think I can be more than happy with P7. It was absolutely unexpected because practice went horrible on this track. I had no feeling for the car, no feeling for the track. It was probably the worst and most frustrating of all season for me. So I'm actually really happy about P7. I didn't expect it at all.
and you did a 27-lap stint. That's only a 1 lap shorter than what the THRs did in that second stint on the hards, didn't you? So you really had to work hard to get into that position. You made some pretty good moves out there as well. You're in some good battles. Obviously, Stefan Rohr having those strategy issues. You had a good battle, I think, with Lucas Murno as well before you pulled away from him. So you certainly had your fair share of action today, even if we didn't see all of it on stream. Apologies.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it was quite nice. I think my biggest mistake or race was trying the 2-stop to get it to work as well. And I had the same problems as Moritz in practice. It worked kinda, but in the race it was just bad. Like the last 5 laps of my stint, I think I lost like 12 seconds to Wag, who was right behind me before he pitted. So that was not optimal, but in the end it worked out because I gambled on the Inters, because basically I had nothing to lose. I was like P13. So in the end it's a double-edged sword a little bit. I could have done a different strategy, and if I would have done the same as Moritz, I would have probably ended up like P5, or definitely at least P6. So, but still, it's better than everything that I expected.
So, obviously, this is a result, Sven, that puts you up to 16th in the Drivers' Championship. I think Moritz is 21st on 26 points, but you're on 42, and it's very, very bunched ahead of you. Is the objective now for you to finish in the top 10 in the Drivers, or do you reckon that top 9 in the teams is your real goal?
I think the top 9 in the teams is the real goal, because you can't predict anything here in Super League. It's so unbelievably close. One day you're like today 14th with 3/10 off pole, which is crazy. Then on the other day you're like 24th with 5/10 off. So it's always a struggle for me personally, because I'm not feeling very good with the car. So I take it race by race and see what's coming. Singapore is going to be chaos, so I hope I can make a little bit of profit, because I was quite lucky this year with collisions around me.
Yep, certainly. As long as people are hitting each other and not you, then there's absolutely a way to make it play in your favor.
Exactly.
So, thank you very much, Sven. It's always nice to talk. We don't talk to the Fraser Tartan drivers nearly enough, but it's always lovely
because
when
we're
we do.
shit.
Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Sven decided to put an expletive right at the end of the interview. Hopefully, when everybody's already gotten bored and left, much like Lucas Murno did when it took me too long to come around to him in the interviews. But anyway, I hope you guys said hi to him.
Yeah.
Anyway, because he had a great drive today. Obviously, not as good as either of you, but nonetheless, considering his life
Really
experience.
impressive. To put that SL2 car on P8.
Okay, now we're just complimenting him by criticizing the Stacks team, which just feels a bit backhanded. But I'm not sure Christian Zerner appreciates that, but he will be celebrating nonetheless 8 hard-earned points for the team. Anyway, I think we're going to let Fraser Tartan go. So, thanks for talking to us, and congratulations on P4 and P7, your best result of the season so far. I'm sure there's more points finishes to come.
Thank you very much.
So then, as the Fraser Tartan drivers leave, and we are well over the time we probably should have ended the broadcast, let's drag Caitlin Penny back in and nip things in the bud then. So, yeah, really interesting hearing basically Jan Grankvist and the THR team, all of the drivers and even Toby himself seem to have completely different perspectives on what the top 3 should have been had it not rained, or had they managed to rain differently. So Jan thinks he would have won. Jarl thinks it should have been a 1-2 of him second, and Tom is like, and Toby were both like, it happened pretty much the way it should have. So I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, lovely to hear from the FTR boys as well.
To be honest, I think there are probably alternate universes out there where about 15 different drivers won that race. It was that kind of a day.
I'm sure Luke will be wishing we were in that one.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, it doesn't matter now. It's all academic, because what happened did happen, and those are the results. But anyway, Thank you all much for watching this broadcast. If you did leave a comment in the YouTube stream, then I appreciate that. Thank you for keeping us company. Thank you to Ed Hunter, my co-commentator, always keeping me company in the comms box. Thank you to Remco de Zeeuw for providing you with the sights and sounds and the images that you were seeing today. Thank you to GPVWC for putting on the broadcast. And of course, thank you to all of the drivers for providing us with another entertaining race. Make sure you keep your eyes out for all of the junior categories, such as Super Lights, Formula Sprint 1 and Formula Sprint 2 and Academy. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the Singapore Grand Prix. See you then.